We are back and we are diving into the team-by-team outlooks heading into this year. Here's the story with Penn State, a team that won a couple games against teams in the top dozen in the rankings last year, Purdue and Wisconsin. But remember, they lose a lot. Obviously, Ace Baldwin and NBA first-rounder Yana Coden-Niederhauser both gone among their top 5 scorers. A great freshman class, including the highest-ranked recruit in program history in Caden Mingo. And we are joined now by the head coach of the Nittany Lions, Mike Rhoades. And Coach, great to have you with us. First of all, let's start with, you lose a first-rounder in Yana Coden-Niederhauser. I don't in any way want to understate the importance of that. But so much went through Ace Baldwin, right? He really was the leader on the floor. So who is your leader on the floor in this current iteration?
Caden Mingo, a freshman point guard, very talented for an 18, now 19-year-old, beyond his years with maturity, a high-character kid, but he also has a will to win. So we're very lucky to have him, fortunate to have him. We're going to give him the keys to the program right now and let him go, but we're going to support him and help him. He's going to play with some good players around him.
I was really interested to see that Mingo was named one of your co-captains. That speaks volumes about the young man, right? To come in as a freshman and be named a co-captain. What does leadership look like from a youngster and a whole group of young players? Well,
the first rule of leadership I always feel is you got to take care of your own stuff, and he does that at a high level. And secondly, you got to be a great teammate, and being a leader, you got to be able to bring people with you. And very quickly in June, when he showed up on campus, along with Eli and Josh and Sasha, those guys, great teammates, helped the new guys, even though Caden was one of them. The other thing about Caden and Josh Reed and Eli, those guys just good communicators. When you have those type of guys that are good communicators and are taking care of their business, they're going to come to the front when it comes to leadership, and they've done that.
What about, Ace was your guy. Dave brought that up. He was your leader on defense also.
Yes.
Your up-tempo style defense, getting after people, his steals, just change games. Are you going to continue doing that style of play? I know that's been something you brought with you from VCU. And
yes, we're going to pick people up full court. I really believe that helps us create more possessions. I've always said it before I took the job at Penn State, if we try to play quarter court offense and quarter court defense every night in the Big Ten, that's not over years and years like that. We study that. That won't work. That won't help us. We got to create a lot of possessions, Coach, and doing that, Caden Mingo can pick up the ball. Meli Tuka from Turkey is going to be a really good presser. Freddie Dilion could really press the ball. You saw that last year. So we're going to continue to do that. We got to create extra possessions and create offense because of our defense, and we're going to recruit like that every year. So, yeah, maybe not as good as what Ace was, but he had 5 years of doing it. So we'll get there. We'll get there for sure.
What about, is there a surprise? There's always somebody, an X factor, that he's better than you thought. You know what I mean, coming into it?
Freshman from Croatia, Ivan Joric, 7-footer. He's very good. He's very talented. You can tell he played with older guys his whole life. Really good feel. He's got Big Ten size. He's over 240 pounds, but he can step out and make threes, and we're really excited to have him. He's improved a lot with his body and his ability just from June. But really excited about him, and he is a true freshman. He's still young, but he's going to get thrown in the fire with Caden and Melly and Mason Blackwood, and we'll figure it out from there.
What are the biggest things you've learned first 2 years in the Big Ten about coaching in this league? You mentioned stylistically a little bit. What else have you learned?
I knew it, but it's like cold water in your face. Everybody's these coaches aren't just good. They're awesome. These guys have made deep runs in NCAA tournaments. They've played different styles, but it's the caliber of play. I just think the depth, the talent, and the depth on the best teams in the league are game changers, and that's something we got to keep addressing at Penn State all the time.
The thing I think when you come into a league, you don't always understand the venues and how the intensity of the venues and the crowd support. I don't think people realize that, and even the Pac-12 teams that came in, all of a sudden, every night, those are full-packed places, and it changes the game.
Well, I was only allowed, the only times I was allowed to stay up as a kid was big Mondays and Wednesdays growing up. So I watched every Big Ten game for about 15 straight years as a kid. So I It's a dream come true for me to walk into places like Purdue and Indiana, Illinois. Like, come on, man, it's nothing better. But until you experience it the first time, and experience is your greatest teacher. So we have the youngest team in the Big Ten, one of the youngest teams in the country. We're going to go in there. We're going to fight like crazy in these venues, but what a great experience, too. It's only going to make us better. But you want to find a way to go in there and sneak them because there's nothing better than a road win, especially in the Big Ten.
So I just told Dave a little while ago, get old and stay old. You went the other way.
Yeah. Well, look, the reality is we couldn't do what other people were doing. That's just how it is, and I hope as we move forward we'll be able to do some of those things. But I was going after high-character kids, super talented. If they were freshmen, they were freshmen. When you get on the court for the jump ball, nobody ever asks you how old you are. They want to know if you can play or not. Our job is to put our players out there and give them a chance to win.
Well, excited to see this young group, this talented group this year for Penn State. Mike Rhoades, thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
As we take a look at the schedule and some of those venues that Mike Rhoades and company will be going into, it starts pretty early in conference play, December 9th at Indiana. So we'll get a sense right off of how they stack up against what figures to be an interesting roster for the Hoosiers. And then Michigan State, December 13th. You see the Palestra game. That is always a highlight on the schedule in Philadelphia as they will host the Fighting Illini. For more on Penn State now, we send it over to Andy and Raphael.
Well, thank you, Dave. Pleased to be joined by Josh Reed and Eli Rice from Penn State. Players love to play fast. They say that. And Mike Rhoades has done that at each stop. But there's a skill to playing up-tempo. And a lot of it also starts in the preseason. And then we'll start down the line here. What has the preseason been like to get in the right condition to play at the tempo that Coach Rhoades wants you to play at?
It's been a lot, just doing conditioning on the court, doing conditioning outside. We started over the summer with that, really, because that's a big thing for us. We knew Coach wanted to play fast, so it started in the summer, just getting conditioning in and then doing conditioning preseason, just trying our best to be in shape, playing fast in practice every day. So,
yeah, I would say, one thing Coach always says is just having an army of guys that can come in and just staying conditioned and going out there and doing what we do in the game. And so, yeah.
As a guy that's played in this league, and I finished at the bottom of this league, Eli, you guys didn't have the season that you hoped for last year.
Sure.
You guys missed the Big Ten tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys talk – because when we finished last place in this league, all off-season, we're not doing that again. Did you guys talk about missing the Big Ten tournament, and how much did that mean to you guys?
Of course. You can look at it a way as only up from here. And you learn all the things that you shouldn't do. So, we definitely talked about it. We're not going to be in that position again. Obviously, last year I was out. I couldn't play. I was hurt. So, I want to come in and make a big impact I can so that doesn't happen again. So, yeah.
And just following up off of that, how are you feeling now off of the injury, having the full offseason?
I'm feeling great. My body is in the best shape I've been in. So, I'm just ready to go and just prove what I can do. So, yeah.
And then, Josh, coming in from Cincinnati, I've watched you like we talked before you got on. I watched you a bunch since high school. What can fans expect from you? What do you bring to this team? We heard Coach Rhoades talk about your leadership to the younger guys. What else do you offer to the squad?
That's definitely a big thing, my leadership, my experience. Just trying to help the younger guys along as they kind of learn what it's like to play college basketball. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes to help my team win, whether that be guarding, rebounding, scoring, whatever it is.
Let me follow up on that. How hard is it to be a leader of players that you didn't play with before? Because both of you come in new, and there's a lot of new pieces, some younger guys. And so you're still trying to learn what the coaching staff wants and the Penn State campus and community and everything else. So how do you speed up that learning curve as leaders at a new school?
Well, Coach's biggest thing for us so far has just been building and bonding. That's literally what he said day one. So, just bonding with the new guys off the team or off the court, doing whatever it takes to get close. We got close really fast, so that's been big for us, just kind of creating that chemistry, and it's showing up on the court as well.
I would probably say just Coach has been on us about just communicating in practice. I would probably say just building that habit every day of, I got you, I'm in your gap, I'm here, I'm helping. So, yeah, that's probably the biggest thing, just building that habit of communication.
And then I got to ask y'all about one of my guys, one of my favorite freshmen, not just in the Big Ten, but in the country. Kaden Mingo is a top 40 recruit coming out of high school, but he's not one of the normal 5-star, 4-star. That dude a dog. and you lose Ace Baldwin Jr., but you get a Caden Mingo. Are there similarities between the two? Because you hear Coach talk about him as he's already a co-captain as a freshman. What has he brought to the floor for you guys?
I'll just say, like, he's super mature beyond his age. Like, he comes in, like, you would walk in practice and think he's a senior on how he plays. He sees the floor. I'm a shooter, so he gets me tons of shots in practice, and then when he's open, he gets his shots. So, yeah, I love playing with Caden. That's my dog.
Josh, let me follow up with you on new venues. Where are you looking forward to the most playing as a Penn State Nittany Lion on the road?
I don't know if I could just name one spot. Kind of everywhere. You know, I've never been to any of these places, so playing at these kind of places with the atmosphere and the energy that the fans bring, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, Dave mentioned the game at the Palestra, which I think will be an unbelievable experience for all of you, playing in Illinois this year. A couple years ago, Illinois played in the smaller gym where the volleyball team plays, and then you're playing this game against Pitt in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and Coach Rhoades does a great job of trying to get the program around the state. In your brief time there, in terms of a sense of campus pride and community, the whiteout game the other couple weeks ago, what have you sensed that on this Penn State campus of what it means to be playing for Penn State?
I mean, you just got to know what you're representing. I mean, the Penn State pride is crazy. Like, you have to bring it every game, and if you don't, you know the fans are going to be on your back. So, I mean, I love it. I love the pressure. Yep.
As we continue here on Big Ten Media Day, it's time to focus in on the Indiana Hoosiers. Darren DeVries replacing Michael Woodson after spending 1 year at West Virginia. He's the new head coach, and he had to overhaul this roster because every single player with eligibility left entered the portal. So you've got 15 newcomers, 10 transfers, 5 freshmen. It is a really highly thought of transfer class that includes his son Tucker, who came with him from West Virginia. And Darren DeVries is with us now. Coach, welcome to the Big Ten. I know you grew up in Big Ten country. Great to have you here. One thing that has stood out to me in kind of getting a sense of what you've been doing here since you got to Bloomington is you've really made an effort, it seems like, to connect with the students and connect with the fan base. You guys had a Hoosier Hysteria type event in the streets of Bloomington. So give me a sense of why that was such a priority for you to go about it that way.
Yeah, we just think, having a home court advantage is a huge deal in every league, but especially this league. And we want our students to feel like they're a part of our journey together. And, they know they have an impact on games. And then we want them to know that and feel that. And we want them to get to know our guys, too. You know, we have a great group of guys. We want them to be able to interact on something that's more than just watching them on the game floor. So it's been fun to get to know a lot of the students and things and do events like that.
Aside from filling out a roster, which, as we noted, there was no small feat, what were your biggest priorities as you took over this job? What did you look at and say, this is what we need to get done?
Yeah, as you mentioned, got to get a staff, and then you got to get a team assembled. And when you start with zero, there's a lot of work to do. So, there's I wouldn't say there's just a couple of weeks there where it's like it just takes a while to get it going and get the first guy signed or the second guy, and it's a long ways to get up to the 15. So, but that process, took what it took, and then once you get them there in June, now it's time to go to work, and we're excited about the way the group shaped up.
Transition. You talked about you got to get a roster, but for you as a coach, you went at Drake, now you're at West Virginia, now you're in Bloomington. How was that? Not only you, your family, everybody. It's got to be tough.
Yeah, I think that's what people don't really realize is like what an impact it has on your family. You have to, get them out of schools and find a new school and find a house and find living and those type of things. And just the move itself is a lot. So there's a lot that goes into that. But again, now it's settled down and we got some normalcy and away we go.
And the fans, they don't care about you moving and all that. They just want you to get players, which you did. How is it to coach your son? The challenges, it's got to be unbelievable. The success he had at Drake, even last year, the start of the season. But, the ups and downs of it, coaching him, the challenge to have him in the locker room.
Yeah, we've really enjoyed it, and I got the opportunity with Greg and Doug McDermott to kind of see it in a different perspective, but then to be able to coach your own son now and be able to learn from some of those those things, and see what what a great time they had doing it. It was also easy when Doug was scoring about 30 every night, so that makes everything a little smoother. But I think a lot of it goes too to I saw it with Doug. He had great teammates, and Tucker's had great teammates along the way too that have made it a lot easier in utilize or being able to deal with that dynamic.
One of the challenges, clearly, building chemistry with this team. I know you took a trip to Puerto Rico. What did you learn about your team in Puerto Rico?
I learned we're not very good at kayaking. I know that.
Tell me about that. What was the story there?
Well, we took a trip out kayaking, and I had Tate and Connerway with me and stuff. I don't think we're a good kayaking team. Yeah, I think we finished last as we were trying to. We just ended up just turning around, I believe. So, but we had a great time. It was a great trip, as you said. When you got a lot of new guys, new staff, new players, to get that time together, it's so valuable. And then to get to play 3 games on top of it was awesome for us.
I did that every time I made a change. When I went to SIU, I did the trip because it's so important, because that camaraderie, all that stuff, getting to know you. But the leadership, too. Who is your leader? Who's kind of evolved with that?
Yeah, I think just naturally Tucker and Lamar. But, Tucker especially, just because he understands everything we're trying to do. So it's a lot easier for him to just be in that role right off the bat, because everybody coming in is looking to him like, what's this drill? What's this verbiage and things? What does coach want from it? And it's easy for him to kind of relay that message from a player perspective. But I think I've always been a guy that just we don't do captains and things like that. I always let leadership kind of just evolve on its own. And we have a lot of guys. We have several seniors on this team, and the leadership all comes in different ways. Some of it's by how hard they play. Some of it's by, the words they say. So there's a lot of different ways that leadership takes place. The good part is this group has really embraced one another and has come along from a culture and just an identity standpoint. They're doing a really good job with that.
Tell me about identity. What do you want the identity of this team to be?
Yeah, we want our identity to be a group that comes out every day and plays extremely hard, plays tough and physical and disciplined, but also plays the game with a lot of energy and enthusiasm. And then, from a defensive standpoint, we want to be the aggressor, and then also from the offensive standpoint, we want to be the aggressor. We want to play in transition. We want to be in attack mode. We want to give our guys a lot of freedom just to go make plays and trust their instincts.
Have you heard there's a little rivalry in that state? There's a school up the road that I was at for 18 years, and some of my greatest memories are the Purdue-Indiana games. I'm sure you're looking forward to that.
Yeah, tremendous rivalries all across the country, but one of maybe the best ones in all of college basketball is Purdue and Indiana, and I've heard a little bit about the rivalry game.
The fans make sure you know about it.
The fans on both sides, I think, make sure that everybody understands that you need to try to win that game. Yeah.
Just overall, what's your message to the Indiana fan base?
I think the overall message is, let's do this together. Let's really, rally around each other and enjoy this journey together. And just know that, hey, we're going to do everything we can and put in the work to put ourselves in position to be successful for a long time.
We know how high the expectations are in Bloomington. I know you're embracing that. We really can't wait to see this first iteration of the Hoosiers. Coach, thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So that is Darian DeVries, and here is the schedule ahead for him and some challenging games in the non-conference. Marquette, Louisville. The renewal of the Kentucky rivalry is going to be absolutely fabulous. A 4-game series that those two schools are going to play. It starts at Kentucky on December 13th, and then you see conference play, including some marquee road contests at Maryland, Michigan State, and Michigan. And then there are the 2 Purdue games, January 27th. That one will be in Bloomington, and February 20th will be in West Lafayette, Andy.
Well, thank you, Dave. We are now joined by Darren's son, Tucker DeVries, and Lamar Wilkerson. I want to play off of that schedule because you guys are coming in at the right time where these rivalries are being renewed, historic rivalries between Indiana and Louisville, Indiana and Kentucky. Playing for Indiana, it's one of those schools that when you wear Indiana on the front of your chest, it means something. You guys are just sort of barely there in the infancy of your careers. I'll start with you, Tucker. What does it mean to you to play at Indiana?
Yeah, I think it's really special. I think you walk into Assembly Hall and you look up at the walls, the tradition, and you're overwhelmed with just the history of everything. And you have Indiana across the chest, and you're representing a lot more than just the team. You're representing the state, the fan base, and everything that's comes with that. And I think this group's super excited to represent that, and hopefully trying to make a fan base very proud.
Just to piggyback off what he said, it's a special place, man. Like, there's no other feeling than walking Assembly Hall. Like, you just feel the history there, like, as soon as you walk in. So, for us to, get back to what we're trying to do as far as Indiana basketball, man, it's gonna be a good time.
And Lamar, I heard you say recently you're a country boy.
Yeah.
You had 70 people in your high school graduating class.
Yeah.
And now you're playing for Indiana. You averaged over 20 points a game last season, close to 50% from the field. Why coach? Why did you come to Bloomington? You could have went anywhere in the country. Why be a Hoosier?
Man, for me, it was just the fact that I wanted to, play in front of that big crowd. Like, growing up, that was always my dream, to play in front of sold-out arenas day in, day out. At Big Ten, everywhere you go, it's always sold out. There's always the big crowds and stuff like that. So I just felt like I just wanted to play at the highest level, and I feel like Big Ten is one of them.
And for you, Tucker, coming in off of an injury, didn't play last season, didn't play the full season. How you feeling right now coming into this year? How's your body? Where are you at in this offseason?
Yeah, it feels great to have an off season to prepare myself for the final year of my college career, and to be able to do it with this group of guys has been awesome, and all coming in new as one, and including the staff, and just really working towards one goal of trying to win as many games as possible this season, and get a lot of momentum going for Indiana.
One thing that, and I know every team's different, and the roster's a completely different team with the staff, but one thing Indiana fans will remember, that closing out games was a bit of an issue in the past. It's an entirely new group, but in the short time when you guys were together in Puerto Rico, in practice, what have you learned about sort of the moxie of this group, of when things get tight, when it's down to last possessions, even in practice or games you played in Puerto Rico, that you think this team can close it out? Start with you, Lamar.
Like you said, just, end of the game, just closing out. We do a lot of situational stuff in practice like that to get us ready for moments like that. As you said, when we went to Puerto Rico, we was down a lot, and then we had to fight back. So that just shows adversity, and then Coach DeVries just makes it, tells us, like, we're strong with numbers, so when fatigue is on, that's when we got to play our best.
Yeah, I think it's a total group effort to win a basketball game, and I think it's important to have to go through adversity a little bit together to build that chemistry. And I thought Puerto Rico was a good step in that direction of, we faced a little bit of adversity and then having to overcome it. And it, you learn a lot about yourself, the team, in those situations. And I think for us, it's just something when you're going through fatigue or into games and those difficult situations, it's really important to, be one, be a team, and play off each other and play together. And I think, hopefully that's what can get us over the hump in a lot of those close games.
Well, we all know when you put on that Hoosier jersey, when you play in Assembly Hall, the expectations are high. They don't care about winning the Big Ten. They don't care about winning the Big Ten tournament. They want Final Fours. They want championships. Is that something that you guys have talked to each other amongst yourselves as players? Or do you embrace those expectations? How have you guys seen it?
I think the only way to do it is to embrace those expectations. I mean, you play this game, you go through the whole offseason, to try and be the best, to win championships. I think for us, it's every day we got to continue to be better and embrace the process. And, as long as we're, continue to get better, and towards the end of the year, you're playing your best basketball, that's where those runs can come, and that's where the tournament success can, be made.
Lamar, scores are scores, shooters are shooters. I don't care what level. And we've seen this where players have moved up conferences or even divisions. What is it about your game that will translate from a Conference USA to a Big Ten?
Just, the enthusiasm I play with, the dog, being an energetic guy on the team, man. And then, I can shoot the ball a little bit. So, hopefully that translates.
Here's the story with the Fighting Illini as they head into a much-anticipated season. They did lose a couple of first-round picks, Kaspers Yakachonis and Will Riley, but a ton back, 3 of the 5 starters back, including Tomislav Ivicic, Kylan Boswell, Ben Humrichous, a couple power conference transfers as well for Brad Underwood. So a little bit of an overhauled roster, but more continuity than a lot of teams have, and certainly a top 25 and maybe even better caliber team for the Fighting Illini. And Brad Underwood is with us now. And Coach, first of all, just the buzz around this team. I mean, I know season tickets are sold out. The students are fired up. Just give people a sense of what it feels like around Illini basketball.
Well, it's a great time to be an Illini. And I couldn't imagine being in any better place than we could be. Our facilities are great. We sold out the Orange Crush in 18 minutes. Every game sold out. We got a great schedule. It's just a really good time to be at the University of Illinois. And our basketball program is feeding off what's going on the football side. It's pretty electric, and it's a really, really good opportunity for us to keep growing and keep getting better, but we're in a good spot.
I don't know that there's a coach who I've been around who has embraced what's going on in college basketball right now more than you have. You seem to relish the opportunity to build a roster every year, and you and I have talked a lot about this, and you've pointed to your junior college roots and how that has influenced you and allowed you to say, hey, every year's a new year, and we're going to put this group together. There was a lot of publicity about you going to the Balkans, going to Eastern Europe, and finding a number of players who are extremely talented. Was that just a coincidence, or do you feel like there's something about the European players and the Eastern European players in particular that works with your style?
No, it's been very calculated. It's something, I love. And we had young guys from really all over the world early on. And now NIL has opened it up where we could get really good players. But Jeff Alexander, Orlando Antigua, those two in particular, have spent a ton of time in Europe the last 4 or 5 years developing those relationships. NBA trends, arguably the best players in the NBA are European. And we're getting guys that are very well coached, very well schooled, in some cases a little older, but they're so well defined. They have a great passion for the game of basketball, I found, and I love that. And they fit our style. You know, they can all dribble, they can all pass, they can all shoot. It's been a great marriage for us.
The fans and that, but it also is so important to have great support from your athletic director.
Oh.
And it's just amazing what he's done. I got a chance to go back our 04, 05 teams. He had to reunion our guys. Just to be back to energy and to see what he's done, just kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, and Bruce, I say this all the time, that coaches win games, administrators win championships. And if you come to the University of Illinois and you look at all of our facilities, whether it's the new indoor baseball, the indoor softball, the Demersion Park with soccer and track and field, obviously what Mike Small's got going on the golf side, the new Smith Center in football, and then the renovated Ubben Center, $41 million. State Farm Center's 10 years into a renovation. It's electric. And when you have a great relationship with your athletic director, I'm blessed I have that. He understands winning. He's got just tremendous love for the University of Illinois as he played football there as well. It's a great marriage, and it's really hard to think about doing anything else or being anyplace else other than the University of Illinois.
The other thing I want to bring up is not only do you coach, but you also are so involved in so many different things. Coaches versus Cancer. You've been a leader with your wife. Now NABC on the board. Yeah. People don't understand. Coaching's. It's 340 days a year, but now you're adding this other dimensions into this. How do you do it?
Well, Coaches versus Cancer is good for my soul. That helps me. We all got into coaching in our generation because we wanted to help people, and we're teachers. We wanted to see young people grow up and become men and responsible men. Now we get to do it a little bit differently. We get to use our platform as basketball coaches, the platform of basketball, to maybe help something come to an end. It's time we end cancer. We're 2025. I have a hard time believing we don't have a cure yet. And so it's touched every single one of us. Now we get to do that. I'm excited about it. I love doing it. Being on the NABC board now, big time in college sports. And maybe just to have a little say or a little input in some of the things going on. I feel it's the best for the next group of coaches. I got a son who's going to be a coach and a young staff, and I want to leave the game just as good or better than what we got it.
Well, you're not going to be leaving it for a while. I know that.
That's fact.
And you're excited to coach this team. biggest strength of this team right now is what?
Size, positional size. I think we're a very, very good shooting team. And then we've got veteran leadership. And that's Ben Humrichous, Kylan Boswell, Tomislav Ivicic. Big difference from last year. Jason Jaxtis, AJ Red. We've got a group of guys, Jake Davis, that are all back. Big difference from last year where we had 11 new guys. Now we got some veteran leadership. We're a little older. Both our portal guys are older. So I like the way that can become. We still have to have the chemistry, but we're working hard at that.
Feels like that's the balancing act, right, in this day and age, is to bring back guys who understand what you do and understand your program, but you also have to get into the portal and, in your case, go and get young players from Europe and get guys who can make you better. And that's – how do you balance that?
Yeah, and I think it is just that. It's a balancing act. I think retention's one of the biggest keys as we move forward in this world. And yet, Andrei Stojakovic, Zvonimir, both guys with college experience, played at the high major level, both found success in certain areas that we needed. And, and then we've gone to Europe and we've got some young guys in Mihailo Petrovic, a point guard, and we've got David Mirkovic at 6'9", 260. They all fit. They're all a little bit different. They were needs of ours. So we've just tried to mesh that together in a way that fits what we're trying to do.
Fascinated to see this team. I know there's a lot of excitement in Champaign and throughout the state of Illinois. Brad Underwood, thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
Here is the schedule ahead for the Fighting Illini. You see some high-profile non-conference games. They never shy away from that. Texas Tech, Alabama, UConn, Tennessee, and Missouri. The Northwestern rivalry has turned into a really good one. January 14th, they will be in Evanston. Obviously, a lot of excitement about playing Purdue. That is 10 days later in West Lafayette. Andy?
Wow. I mean, look at those first 5 games. Unbelievable. Andy Katz here with Rafael Davis and Kylan Boswell and Ben Humrichous. That schedule, it's unbelievable. I mean, you've got previous Final Four teams, champions. We don't want to bring up what happened in the Elite Eight a couple years ago, but you got a chance for revenge against UConn, different rosters. But this is what you signed up for. You've got a veteran team back. How is this team, I'll start with you, Kylan, ready for that kind of schedule in the non-conference?
I think it started with this summer. All of us buying in to Coach Underwood's philosophies. Us 3 guys who came back understood what the standards were going to be for us, accepting the new guys, the Europeans coming in. I think 100% just us trusting one another and trusting Coach Underwood. I think that's the key for us.
Yeah, this is a team that's been diligent in preparation from the start. This is big moments coming up, but there's a lot of daily battles that we've got to win. And so Coach Underwood will have us prepared through all of his antics and the ways that he works to have us ready. And so it's something that you're extremely excited about and that we're excited about moving forward.
I love how he threw it in the antics word.
And Ben, this is for you. You started your career at Huntington University. I'm from Fort Wayne, so I know what that looks like at Huntington. And now you're here at Media Day with the top 5 team in the preseason at Illinois. What does this moment mean to you as a young kid that wanted to be here but had to fight your way to get here?
Yeah, all I can say is praise God. This is an incredible blessing that he's given to me, that I've been gifted with the game of basketball. He's taken me on a long journey that's been unique to how many people take it. But now here, standing on Media Day, it's an honor that I get to stand here with Kylan, representing the University of Illinois, and with all of you. It's super exciting, and I give God all the glory for that.
It's a similar question to you, Kylan. Hometown kid from Champaign, was always one of the better players in the town growing up. Now you're here representing the university, and you have a chance to go deep, not just win the Big Ten, but go deep into the tournament. What would it mean for you to get Illinois back to the Final Four?
Being able to come back here, especially coming from Arizona, and I never thought when I first hit the portal that Coach Underwood would still have the same type of love that he came when he recruited me. It's a blessing. It's nostalgic for me growing up as a fan, as a visitor, coming to these games, and now getting to rep the orange and blue on the floor. A bunch of family and friends who never seen me play since 8th grade get drive 5 minutes away, come see me now. So for me, it's a blessing, and I'm really excited.
There's a lot of languages flying around in that on that practice court. Obviously, basketball is the universal language, but with so many newcomers, a couple of Europeans, a couple players who are European who have played in college basketball, how has this all come together in a short amount of time?
I think all of us embracing one another, different cultures, different interests in life. And I think it's also just good, in life, just have new perspectives and just everybody's different growing up and stuff like that. We all have done a great job, I feel like, embracing each other. And I think, like I said earlier, trusting and leaning on one another and just continuously growing as a group, as brothers. I think that's been a huge thing for us.
And, Ben, what are the chances we're really going to see Brad Underwood in that orange tracksuit
I knew you were going to ask that.
with the newsboy-type cap on coaching a game? Can we see that in a game?
I don't think I'm at liberty to say that that's going to happen, but we were talking about it at dinner last night. I would not be surprised that comes out in a game sometime.
I mean, look at that. He's squatting in front of like those Soviet-style Eastern European buildings that all look the same, looking like you do not want to mess with him.
Like he just got out.
Yeah, that is Soviet-style East European right there. Do not mess with that man. How has he handled, Kylan, all of these different cultures?
He's doing a great job. They keep messing with him, say certain stuff to get under his skin. But no, so far he's done a great job of trying to learn the new languages and everything.
Who's a guy out of the new guys? I mean, obviously not a lot of people are familiar with everyone on your roster. Who has stood out outside of the known guys that we're familiar with?
Kean Wagler for me, that's been 100%. Big shocker. I've been talking about him every time somebody asks. I think he will turn a lot of people's heads, and people won't be ready for what he's going to bring to the team.
What about his game stands out?
I don't know, but that dude is cold. He is cold. Shoot, he can guard, he can play make for us. I think he's going to be one of our big guys for us who need to step in and be a huge role for us at the season.
Taking a look at the Wisconsin Badgers as they head into this season, a team that was as high scoring as they've been in recent memory. You have to go back a half a century to see a higher scoring Badger team than the more than 80 points that they averaged last season. They do bring back John Blackwell. Obviously, you lose John Tonje, who had such a fabulous year as a transfer, but the transfer list is impressive again this year. Andrew Rhoades from Virginia. You see Austin Rapp there, who was the West Coast Conference Freshman of the Year at Portland. So a really good roster for Greg Gard, who joins us now. And Greg, it's interesting. I think coming into last year, there was some skepticism outside of the program. I know internally you're always confident. You always believe in what you have. Obviously, John Tonje had an unbelievable season. It seems like this year everyone's kind of bought in. Certainly the external expectations maybe meeting the internal ones. Give people a sense of what the buzz. I mean, I know season ticket renewals are really high. Just give people a sense of the buzz around Wisconsin basketball.
I mean, the buzz right now has been really, there's an excitement in the air, definitely. I think they saw what we went through last year and how we played and how exciting we were. And now another year in this evolution, so to speak, as we've continued to push the bar offensively, and how our players have not only we've intentionally recruited to this style, but also how they bought in. And retention always is priority number one, with Blackwell back, Winter back, Janicki back, and then we add 4 freshmen and 5 transfers to the group. So it's an exciting group and an exciting time right now in Madison for basketball.
To your point, it was such a fun team to watch last year. I know you gave a lot of credit to Kirk Penny for kind of overhauling your offense. He has decided to head back home to New Zealand. Brad Davison comes in as an assistant coach. I'm interested in the impact he'll have. But I'm assuming that all the stuff that Kirk implemented, this is stuff you're going to try to keep, right?
Yes, absolutely. We'll continue. We've grown on it. We spent a lot of time on it in the offseason, specifically this summer and early in the fall before Kirk decided to go back. And Kirk's always a phone call away. But how we've implemented it now, it's entrenched. We're going to continue to evolve and grow with it. And I think, like I mentioned before, just our intentionality of recruiting to it has been a big part of this evolution.
Credit to you. My old boss, Coach Katie, said you want to stay in the business for a long time, you got to be flexible and you got to be willing to change. And you've done that. How has that been for you? Because it is a challenge. There's no doubt.
Well, I was mentored by a guy that was maybe as tied to his way of doing things
really?
as anyone.
A guy named Bo Ryan?
Yeah, and he was phenomenal. And I obviously we had success with doing the swing and everything, and that's still just with watching how the game has changed. The rules have changed, calling more fouls, the evolution of the 3-point line. I think the biggest thing that we've we've modified is the pace that we play with, obviously, and the spacing of the floor, and then you add a lot of the ball screen stuff to it. But it was hard for me to we're still tethered to the foundation and the principles that he obviously helped put in place over the last 25 years, and Coach Bennett prior to him. So those things are still well in place. We've just changed maybe the icing on the cake a little bit in terms of the offensive end.
What about Tanjay? You last year I had one of your early games. He just kind of came out of nowhere. You looked at the stats from the year before. You had been hurt, but all of a sudden he was so good. Is there another John Tanjay out there with you guys? Do you have somebody that's a surprise like that?
Well, I think Dave mentioned an Austin Rapp. I think it's different, not in a John Tanjay mold, but somebody that could come in, and he's had a great year at Portland. I think he'll help us in terms of the scoring column a lot. Andrew Rhoades comes in from Virginia. I went to St. Thomas to acquire his offensive game, and then he went to Virginia to learn defense, and now he's coming back to us as a finished product. So he's been good. And Nick Boyd, I think from San Diego State, I haven't had a point guard that has that command and that speed in a while, and his ability to lead. He's had great success. He was with San Diego State out there and at Florida Atlantic in their Final Four run, so he understands and knows what success looks like. And then you have all the other pieces around him. We talked about Winter and Blackwell that are, I think, poised for really breakout, really, really good years. And we have as much depth and size as we've had across the board. We're big on it at the guard position too. So you got to stay healthy, and you've got to play well. We can do all these preseason predictions, but you got to go play the games.
You mentioned Nolan Winter there, and you have such an amazing track record with developing skilled big guys. What's the next step for him? It just felt like last year he emerged, he kind of came into his own, but you can see in some senses he's still just kind of scratching the surface of what he can be. What can this look like if he continues to progress?
Well, consistent dominance. I think that's what we're looking for from Nolan. To be able to, we saw the flashes of it. That light needs to go on and be on all the time. So he could easily be a double-double guy. He has the ability to get 10 rebounds. And with his skill set, he can score in a variety of ways. Runs the floor terrifically. At that size and how the ball comes out of his hands, it's how you teach it and how you'd want it. Obviously, he's put a lot of time into it. Biggest thing with Nolan is he's added 15, 20 pounds to his frame. So he'll be able to handle the physicality and the duration of a season much better than he could in the past.
Fans want to know all the new guys in that, but you talked about it, to have keep guys in the program is so important. And like John Blackwell, I just love him. I watched freshman year, I had one of your games, and his improvement. Right. What does he bring to the program?
Well, I always say he's like a duck. Right, he's really calm above water, but if you look underneath, he's paddling like crazy. So he's very stoic. I don't see him have a bad day. He gets too high, he never gets too low. He's just very steady. But underneath the hood, there's a competitor there. There's a person that really has a dominating personality when he steps on the court and wants to win. And I've seen that really start to flourish and shine here through the summer and into the fall with his ability to just take over possessions and control it. Because now he's physically, has the experience, and now he's physically put together, and it's changed his body. And I think the trial with the NBA was good for him. It showed him where he needed to improve, and he's come back leaner, stronger, more muscle mass, which is going to obviously transcend to being better offensively.
Beyond that, he's a great kid.
Oh, it's unbelievable. He's as good as it gets. A great family. I mean, just does things the right way, and like I said, as humble as the day is long. And but I like when he steps between those lines. He knows how to flip that switch.
Really cool story. I mean, I love seeing guys who weren't that heavily recruited who then become stars, right? I mean, that's one of the benchmarks and hallmarks of your program through the years. You want to have both. You want to have the heavily recruited guys as well, but to have someone like him to become an absolute star in this league, which is what John Blackwell is. It's a cool story, and Wisconsin is going to be so much fun to follow this year. And as always, they are going to challenge themselves immensely from the get-go. I mean, you look at some of these games, we know how talented BYU is. They have one of the most talented freshmen in the country, a really good roster. They'll take on Providence, Marquette, Villanova, so a lot of really interesting non-conference games. You see 2 games against Purdue. Those will be fabulous marquee games in the Big Ten, January 3rd and March 7th this year. You see the rest of the other intriguing games for the Badgers. Should be a big year in Madison, Andy.
Thank you, Dave. Yes, so another rematch with BYU when they had to play BYU in Denver in the NCAA tournament. A little unfair. Andy Katz, Raphael Davis, John Blackwell, and Nolan Winter. You couldn't hear this, but Coach Gard referenced you, a little of analogy, said you were a little bit like a duck, that calm above the water, but below we don't see, all the paddling going on with those flippers. So the intensity that we don't see, the beautiful smile, the calmness, where's that drive inside that we don't see?
Well, it just comes from my family. It comes from just growing up. Playing against my brothers. I got 2 brothers, so you know how that is, just playing against them in the park and all type of things outside, playing against my cousins, just fighting, losing to them and just fighting. I mean, that's just what it comes down to, just all that drive inside me, just playing against my brothers and my friends growing up.
And Nolan, like John, you're ready to take that baton. And this is the beauty of Wisconsin's program. Few programs have guys that stay and wait their turn. It's your turn. How ready are you for it?
I'm ready. I mean, ever since I was a little kid, I've kind of dreamed of being one of the dudes on a team, looking up to all the guys when I was little, sitting in the stands, watching from afar. Now being able to be that person, it's a dream come true. It's a true blessing, and I can't wait to get going with my guys this season.
I know you can't wait to get going because now both of you guys are the guys, but what changes when you become the guy is now you're the guy on the scouting report. Now you're going to be seeing those double teams. Now you're going to be seeing the opposing team's best defender. And we heard Coach just say he expects you to be a double-double guy every night. Where has your game grown this offseason? What was that point of emphasis for you to be ready for this year?
Yeah, for me, I think it was just getting stronger. Being able to hold my own on the block, that's big for me. I think I took some big strides in the weight room with Coach Snyder this summer. And then, all areas of my game, you can always improve that. You can continue to improve that with reps, just reps on reps. Got in with a lot of the coaches this year. Being in this offense for 2 years now, I kind of know what to expect, where to catch the ball and that kind of thing. So just making plays out of it. And, yeah, just looking forward to a good year.
And, John, like Coach called you, Coach said you may remind him of a duck. The feet are always moving. But I call you just an old-school dude. You just the old-school guard, classic guard you get from the park that you're going to win all day with. Yeah. When you freshman year, 8 points a game. Sophomore year, 16 points a game. Big increase. And then you flirted with the NBA draft this summer.
Yeah.
Where is your game at now? Where is it going into your junior season?
Just honestly, my goal is just to get better every single season. I think I did that from my freshman year to my sophomore year, and now my sophomore year to my junior year. Just be better every single season. But this year, just more consistency. My 3 defense, consistent with that every single. Just being that leader on the floor that these guys can lean on. That John got our back. We can lean on John every single night.
The one player that was mentioned when they were talking to Coach Gard that I don't think is getting enough pub as a transfer is Nick Boyd.
Yes.
Led, or one of the key leaders to take Florida Atlantic to the Final Four, sort of flying under the radar, I think, nationally as an impact transfer. What have you guys both seen from his leadership thus far in practice?
I'll go first. I mean, me and Nick compete every single day. He's a New York guy. He talks a lot. So, I just love that because we say this all the time, iron sharpens iron. So, Nick pushes me every single day to get better, to go at him, to be on my best, or I'll get exposed. If he's not on his best, he'll get exposed. But he's just a guy he's a natural leader. He came in from day one, vocal, just trying to lead and trying to be the best teammate he can be.
Yeah, I mean, piggybacking off of what he said, just super vocal. Came in day one, and it felt like he'd been here for a couple of years already. I mean, he was using his voice. He was kind of commanding and righting the ship, and that's what we need, especially in a point guard for, when games go southward or something, we got someone to lean on and to look to, and that's our guy.
Well, we can't wait to see what happens this season with the Wisconsin Badgers.
Pretty good first year for the Michigan Wolverines under Dusty May. They won the Big Ten tournament for the 4th time in school history. How about setting a program record for wins by a first-year Michigan coach, a Sweet 16 team with some serious star power. Danny Wolf, Golden among others. They lose those guys, but the portal class is phenomenal, led by a player many people believe is the best player in the portal. Yaxel Lendenberger came from UAB, but Adai-Mara, Marez Johnson, Elliot Cadeau, just a fabulous group coming in for second-year coach Dusty May, who joins us now. And Coach, congratulations on a great first year. What did you learn about yourself and your program in that first season?
Well, we learned what type of stamina you need to have to compete in this league. We went through some ups and downs, but a credit to our guys. They battled through some things and really played well in March.
You're going to be seen as a top program in the Big Ten entering this year. I've seen you in a lot of top tens, picked second in the preseason poll, so people think really highly of this team. What have you said to this group about expectations?
Well, we're certainly going to embrace those expectations. When you compete in the Big Ten in a league like this, the national championship, Big Ten championships, Big Ten conference championships are what you strive for. And so we have the tools in our locker room to compete against anyone. Now, we have a lot to figure out and some puzzles to put together, but we like the ability that we have.
What about the league? You know, you came from Indiana. You were there, with Coach Knight, but it had been a long time since you've been there. What was different for you when you got in this league compared to places you've been in the past?
Well, so much smaller then. I remember when Penn State joined the league, and then obviously Maryland wasn't in the conference, Rutgers, the 4 West Coast teams. So the league's changed so much, and then even with the influx of new coaches, the styles of play change. But you still have the same Purdue culture and the same Michigan State culture that Judd Heathcote had and whatnot. But it's changed so much. But the environments, the fans, how much each game means to that particular town or campus is still the same.
Yeah, what about, I was a doubter. I'm going to tell you, I did not think you could play big in this modern basketball. And I was one of the first guys at Illinois. We played 3 guards, a small forward, and a 4-man. But you had success. Now my question is, can you play 3 bigs at a time?
Well, Coach, when they're all really good, I think you can.
You figure it out.
And that's what gave me the belief last year was I knew how good of players those guys were, and when they're really, really talented and they're adaptable and versatile, then you can figure it out. So I think we've gotten a little bit too much credit for playing those two guys together.
You think any coach could have done that, is what you're saying?
I know this guy could have back in the day. I saw that team with, and they were doing it differently back then, but those 3 guards they had were dynamic as well.
Well, let's talk about some of those big guys you've got. Now, I mean, everyone wants to talk about Yaxel Lendenberg, right? Just such a versatile player, a guy who flirted with the NBA. I know it's probably one of the happiest days of your off season when he said, hey, I'm coming to Michigan. I love his story. I mean, I love the fact that he didn't start playing basketball until pretty late in the game, that he's a JUCO guy. It's different than Danny Wolf, but in some ways it's similar, right? Like a guy who not a lot of people knew about or believed in, and all of a sudden has emerged as this player that everyone's buzzing about. What does it say to you about him, the path that he has traveled to get to this point?
Well, first, his humility of most of these guys, they think they're ready before they're ready. And he just felt like he needed a year to play it in the Big Ten at this level to be prepared when he makes it to the NBA. He doesn't want to just make it. He wants to be prepared when he gets there. And he's growing daily. He's a really unique talent where we had no idea how well he passed the ball and his court vision. And then conversely, his instincts defensively, his anticipation skills, ability to get deflections has been impressive. So he's been a lot different than we thought, but he's been everything and then some. But we have a lot of guys surrounding him that can help him be really successful.
You mentioned there were some ups and downs with this team last year. Elliot Cadeau, the guard play was, when you struggled, that was the challenge, right? Was the guards. What does he bring, and how do you feel about your backcourt?
Well, Elliot's an ultra competitor, and that's something that has stood out from day one. Every day in practice, he competes at the highest level. He shot the ball well. We just thought we needed a real facilitator, and his court vision, his ability to get us easy baskets. I think we probably got more dunks the first week of our practice this past year than we did all last year in practice combined. So he's been a real welcome addition as well.
I thought last year just having Vlad come with you from your program was so important to bring your ideas, your culture with you. And I'm not sure he did it or not because I wasn't there, but I as a coach, I know that helps. Talk about, fans want to talk about the new guys, but what about the returners? You got some guys that have been really solid for you. Even a Cheddar, brings something to practice every day.
that's probably the thing that gives me and the staff the most hope going into the season, that we were able to retain 4 guys that were pivotal players in 4 of our top 8 in the rotation. LJ Kaysen emerged late as a freshman, and Roddy Gayle had as good of an offseason as anyone in our program. Nimari Burnett he's almost like a coach on the floor. And then you mentioned Will Cheddar, who's he's the protector of culture for us. So ultimately, those guys are the ones that have been able to bring in the new guys, and they created the culture. So it's not hard for them to teach it. We're all so new and for the first time doing it together.
What's the biggest question mark for you right now?
I mean, obviously, the elephant in the room is how well we didn't shoot the ball in the meat of the season last year. I think the first 2 months of the season, we were top 10 in the country in threes, and then the last 2 months, we were bottom 10 in the country, which I don't know if that's ever been done before. But these guys have shot it well in practice and 5-on-5 play, and they put in the time, they put in the work, and as coaches, we're trying to find ways to generate even better shots, even more rhythm shots. So, you never know until you play the games, but I know our 2 exhibitions against Cincinnati and St. John's we'll have some flaws exposed.
There'll be some questions answered in those games, which obviously don't count in the standings. And then you get to the games that do count, as we thank Dusty May, the Michigan coach. Let's take a look at that schedule that is ahead for the Maize in Blue. And you see some of the non-conference action, including Wake Forest, TCU, San Diego State, obviously Auburn, Villanova, both teams that went through coaching changes in the offseason. So we'll see what those teams look like. And then you see conference play, some of the more intriguing battles, obviously including the always huge games with Michigan State. They'll be in East Lansing on January the 30th. They head to Purdue February the 17th. And then how about that little game against Duke looming there in February, as if the grind of the Big Ten wasn't quite enough, Andy?
Yeah, there's no question. I love the fact that we're now seeing some of those non-conference games in February. That game will be in Washington, D.C. Why is it in Washington, D.C.? Well, that's one of the 4 regional sites for the NCAA tournament, so always thinking ahead of potentially playing there. Andy Katz, Rayfield Davis, Nimari Burnett, and Roddy Gayle Jr. There is no other transfer roster that is more anticipated than Michigan, but it only works if you've got key returnees like the 2 of you. But you guys have to lead. You've got to help this group come together. How is it going thus far?
It's going amazing, man. Being around the guys each and every day, the time we spend off the court, the time we spend on the court, it just brought us more closer together. And it's made us a better team as well. And I'm excited to hit the fire here soon. It's October. The season is approaching, and it's something that we're all excited about.
Roddy?
I just say with having key returners like me and Nimari Will, we kind of built the foundation and which we want to play going into this year. And then the kind of guys that we got from transfers and freshmen, just personality guys. It's easier to build a team when you have guys that connect off the court, because it helps on the court.
Roddy, you always been my guy. I'm going back to Ohio State Big Ten tournament. You balled out. But last season, you didn't have the season you wanted to throughout. And then Coach ended up towards the end, you went to the bench. And I love a bounce-back story. After that, you go into the Big Ten tournament, you go into the NCAA tournament, you average 11 points, you're over 40% from 3. You become that guy on both ends of the floor. And I think it's the reason you guys won the Big Ten tournament. You guys got to a Sweet 16. What clicked for you in that moment to finish out the season the way you did?
Coming off the bench allowed me to be it was less stress on me. I felt like I didn't have to do so much, especially with, guys out there like Danny and Vlad who had so much attention on them. And I feel like when I was going in and able to be myself coming into the game, be the energy spark that we needed, and then playing off guys like Nimari were able to space for me, able to allow me to get downhill and stuff like that. Even talking with Coach, at first when he introduced me the idea, I was kind of down on myself, just be I'm not doing stuff the right way. But then the kind of way I looked at it was kind of like Bradley Beal's situation on the Suns.
Yep.
They took him out of the starting lineup, put him on the bench to be that spark plug, and which they needed with that second group. So that's just kind of the way I changed perspective and were able to look at it. And I think that's inevitably how we were successful, just because I lost myself in the game and lost myself in my teammates.
Yeah, change perspective, got you guys a ring. And then I go to you, Nimari. I've been watching you since high school, here in Chicago, Morgan Park, all of that. Last season was the most comfortable I've seen you play ball in the last 6 years. What about Coach May coming into Michigan? What about that team last year allowed you to thrive the way you did?
Man, Coach May coming to Michigan and implementing his style of basketball, it changed my life. It changed the trajectory of my collegiate career, and it allowed me to feel comfortable playing the style of play that I love to play. Not only do we play an accelerated pace, but also a team of high IQ players playing together on both ends of the floor, all committed to winning. And, you know, he also changed the course of Michigan and Michigan men's basketball. And it's something that, you know, not only am I grateful for, but everyone who has stepped foot here in the last 2 years.
I'll tell you, we can't wait to watch how this all comes together because there's so many high-profile transfers. Ellie Cadu from North Carolina, the big three up front with Yaxel and Mo and Adai, how they all blend together, and these returnees. And we can't dismiss Will Cheddar.
A new face in Iowa City as Fran McCaffrey moving on after 15 seasons with the Hawkeyes. Ben McCollum coming from Drake, taking over a program that does have 12 newcomers, but 6 of those players came with him from Drake, including Bennett Stirtz, his best player and one of the top point guards in the country. So a lot to be excited about in Iowa City as we are joined now by Ben McCollum. And Coach, you grew up going to Hawkeye games. You're from the state of Iowa. What does it mean to you to be the head coach at Iowa?
Yeah, I mean, it means a lot. I think I've been asked that question quite a bit.
It's not an original one.
No,
yeah.
but it's,
you'll find that with me. Yeah, I don't have a lot of original thoughts.
It's meaningful. Yeah. I think once you get there, what do you do with the opportunity? I think is the way we're trying to view it. Is that's great that you accomplish that. But if you don't do anything with that opportunity, then, you know, if you create a sense of arrival for yourself, it's not going to work out. And so we want to make sure that not only do we get that job, but we're able to perform and win at a high level consistently. But yeah, I mean, being in the state of Iowa and where I was born, I mean, it is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And again, as I mentioned, the transition is eased by the fact that you brought 6 players with you from a really good Drake team. How does that help in getting the rest of the guys acclimated and kind of in lockstep with what you want to do?
Yeah, I think what we learned from the transition from Northwest to Drake is, you know, what wins at one level wins at another. And what I mean by that is a lot of the intangible stuff that coaches, the kind of cliche stuff, is he a hard worker, does he serve his teammates, et cetera, that stuff still does win basketball games. And so we brought 4 Division II guys with us, and we're able to win some games. And then fast forward to this year, we brought 6 with us that had won 31 games. And they have all those attributes. So starting off, it helps to establish your culture and helps to get you going very, very quickly so that other people understand how your program acts. And, you know, those guys, obviously Bennett's a good player, and then the other 5 all played minutes except for one was a red shirt. But they all understand what we expect, helps teach those new guys, and hopefully we can hit the ground running.
What about style of play? I've had a chance to watch you. I told you I got to see a couple of your games last year in person at Drake. Unbelievable defense. Also, what you did at Northwestern Missouri, it was just amazing. You know, the consistency. So what do fans want to expect from your teams and moving forward?
Yeah. And here's the cool part about being from Division II is you don't necessarily always pick your players. And so one year you might have a really good point guard. One year you might have a big that can't shoot and a guard that can't shoot. So you have to adapt to your personnel constantly. So eventually at Northwest, we had 5 guys that could shoot. So a couple of our teams would shoot 40+% as a team from 3. Fast forward to this year, but we always defended. Fast forward to this year, we didn't have a lot of shooting. So we had, you know, sometimes we'd play 3 guys that were non-shooters, essentially. So it made it difficult offensively where you had to work the clock a lot longer. Not intentional. We just couldn't get a shot. It's just like, well, he was open. Yeah, there's a reason he's open. It's called scouting. And so then we'd work further into the clock. But defensively, we were always going to be super physical and be able to guard. But it just depends on our personnel year to year. Eventually, what I'd like to get to is, you know, 3-4 guys that are long and can shoot, and then a couple point guards that can play make. And that's what we had at Northwest for my last 7 or 8 years there.
You know, defense, it's phenomenal. Your defense was so good last year. And where'd that come from? Where did you get kind of your philosophy with that? I hope you say watching my teams, but
I was actually just going to say that, and then you ruined it for me. And I have watched your teams, and they were fantastic defensively. Mild head coach Steve Tapmeyer at Northwest Missouri State was one of the better Division II coaches in the country. And so I learned a lot of the culture and effort and toughness stuff from him. And then I was able to work for a guy named David Moe. Dad was Doug Moe. And so from like a basketball perspective, I kind of had the best of both worlds: culture, defense, toughness, and then just straight basketball IQ. You know, Doug, obviously, and David, they just knew the game so well. So then, you know, you just study a variety of coaches throughout the years and put your own spin on it. And naturally, when your mind works towards defense, your teams defend. And so that's essentially what happened.
Coach, tell Big Ten fans what to expect from Bennett Stirtz. He's gotten a lot of hype. I don't know how many fans watched you guys at Drake. They were the ones who missed out if they didn't watch it last year. But what are Big Ten fans going to see in Bennett?
Hopefully a really good player. That's the hope. But no, he's the cool part about Bennett, he was second team all-conference at Division II. So a year before, you know, he wasn't even first team all-league. And then fast forward to Drake, then he's the MVP of the Missouri Valley. And I think what you're going to see is a guy that's extremely competitive. He's not going to show it from an emotional perspective because he's just steady at all times, which is good because his coach sometimes is a little more emotional. So I've always had point guards that are fairly just sit right here, even keel. Doesn't mean they're not competitive. They're as competitive as anybody in the room. It's just they fit me. From a basketball perspective, he's always going to make the right play. He's going to get off the ball at the right time. He'll defend, does everything very, very well. And, you know, he plays this year. I think I did take him out maybe 30 seconds a game. I think he played 39 minutes and 30 seconds a game. So maybe this year, since it's the Big Ten, we'll go 39 and 15. We'll see. That 39-15.
So you actually yell at players in this day and age? You haven't gone to your sensitivity training. You got to stay calm, Coach.
I haven't. I recruit players that I can, because I cannot. You know, it's fascinating though. I do think kids still want to be coached and held accountable.
Yes.
I think it takes a little more time to get there with some of them, or you have to recruit the right ones. The thing that we found is, again, partly because the level I came from is, we don't lie to kids in the recruiting process.
Yeah.
So when they come, they know what they're getting. So you're able to coach them a little bit harder. And coaching them hard doesn't mean you talk negatively to them.
Yes.
Sometimes it's just an intensity. Sometimes it's just an enthusiasm. It's not, don't do this, don't do that. It's just, hey, this is what I want you to do. And you say it with a level of intensity. You have a standard that everybody wants to be held accountable to. You don't lie to them, and kids will do it.
When I go speak at programs and talk to coaches, I always tell them, don't be afraid to coach them. They want to coach them. It's important. But my next question, just you have had a unique ability of finding guys that no one else recruited, and they've ended up being pretty good. What do you look for in a player when you go out there on the road?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is really just, can they play basketball? And we want good basketball players. So whether or not you have potential with length, athleticism, etc., that's great. That's important too. But can you connect to your team? And does it flow and fit? Do you win? Those sort of things. And then just trust in your own eye. Just because, again, that's the benefit of being at that level is I don't just go look at the top 100 list. Like, I don't even look at that list in Division II. So you have to find certain things that maybe Bennett, because he's 6'4", kind of gangly, looks like he should mow your lawn, which he actually ironically did have a lawn mowing business before the end of his NIL days. Looks like you should be outside mowing your lawn. It's like people pass on him just because of the look of him, right? And I had a guy, and a couple of them weren't good enough out of high school. Like I had a point guard, Trevor Hudgens, who I think you know his family. Like Trevor out of high school wasn't good enough for the University of Iowa. or Drake for that matter. But in 2 years, he was. Yes. And so part of that, too, is kind of getting that mental makeup if they can improve. And again, but you can take a little less player and still be successful at D2. That's going to be tricky at Division I because you need to be successful quickly.
Well, I'd say the track record indicates that'll probably happen. But I know there's a lot of work between the track record and getting to it. I know Iowa fans are really excited. Welcome home. Welcome to the Big Ten. Great to have you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me.
That is Ben McCollum, the new head coach of the Iowa Hawkeyes. And here is the challenge ahead for the Hawks. You see some of the early games, including that always anticipated Cy-Hawk battle at Iowa State this year on December 11th. Some of the conference games, great rivalries, including Illinois on January 11th. They'll head to Bloomington on the 17th. Big game at Wisconsin. Some good home games as well, including Purdue coming to town on Valentine's Day, Andy.
Yeah, I know two players to my left that are anticipating some of those high-profile games. There's no question about it. Andy Katz, Rafael Davis, Cam Manyawu, and Bennett Stirtz. Cam started at Wyoming, then goes to Drake, Bennett, Northwest Missouri, then Drake. As you see those games, as you step up in level of competition, what are you excited the most about?
Probably just the arenas I get to play in and the environments I get to play in. Just looking forward to all of that, and just the fan, all the experience will be super fun, and there's a lot of good players in this league, so it should be super fun.
Yeah, I'd have to go with the same thing. You know, all the environments we're going to play in, playing in front of our home crowd, playing in front of those amazing fans, and then, just the opportunity to come to this level and prove ourselves.
I heard you say something the other day. I know you guys brought 6 players from Drake with you to Iowa, and I thought it was really interesting what you said. You said same team, just different colors, different place. So do you guys feel like you still have a chance to build off of what you were doing at Drake, even though you plug in some new transfers, or is this a complete restart, rebuild now that you're at Iowa?
I think we see it as, continuing on what we did last year and just growing from that and using those experiences to improve this year and, with these new players that we brought in, just get better this year.
I think it's the same thing. There's a little bit of both, but we've got a lot of players that the world doesn't know about, and I'm just excited for them to show the world what they're about. We just like being underrated, and hope it stays that way.
You talk about being underrated, Bennett. You had 21 against Texas Tech. You had 21 against Missouri. In the NCAA tournament, you go 19 from 30 from the field, balling. But you still have people questioning, will he be able to do it in the Big Ten? What would you say to those naysayers about your game that you know is going to translate up, even though you're going to a high major conference?
Hopefully they keep talking like that. My whole career, I've been a D2 guy, and until the ball stops bouncing, I'm going to be a D2 guy. And it's just that chip on my shoulder that I play with, and it gives me a little extra edge. And that's the way I like it.
To both of you, we're in an era where players are bouncing around to play for different coaches. You guys are doing that, but for the same coach. You followed him now twice. You followed him once. What is it, if you start with you, Cam, what is it about Ben McCollum, his style, his staff, that makes you want to follow him at each stop?
I would just say, the way he cares about you off the court as a person, like it's not just about basketball. And then also just being happy, like when you think about it, you can go somewhere else and you can try and go find more money or, somewhere else that you think you might have a better place. But, just the other day I go in the office to watch film and then I end up in there 2 hours just sitting in there laughing with the coaches, having a good time. And that's just something that I really cherish and is really important to me, being able to just be around people that I love being around. So that's something that was really big for me.
Grass isn't always greener on the other side, and money's never going to satisfy you. So those are the two main things. And then, just like he said, off the court, he makes you a better person. And, for example, I got engaged this last fall, this past summer. Yeah, appreciate it. And he goes and gives me a pep talk right before I was about to propose. So that's just the type of coach and person he is. He just cares about his players.
Did he know before your parents?
No, my parents knew before.
Coaches like that, they mean something to you, because I got married a few years ago. Coach Painter, first flight down to New Orleans to my wedding. So coaches like that, they stick with you for the rest of your life. But earlier you said something that I held on to. You guys got players that's going to surprise the country. Who's been one of those guys or two of those guys that stood out in practices or open gyms that's going to surprise the conference?
Yeah, I could go on and on down the list of our roster. Trey Thompson, he's a 17-year-old kid out of high school. He's been really good for us out in practice. Alvaro Forguera is another transfer from Robert Morris. Isaiah Howard, a bunch of the Drake guys have been playing their tails off. So, I mean, can you think of anyone else?
Those three for sure. I mean, Trey, he's young, but he's picking it up quick. I mean, he can really shoot it, and then just some of those other guys that he said. But I think everybody, given the chance, they're going to be able to show that they can do a lot of things that people didn't think they could do.
The Northwestern Wildcats coming off a year which saw them a little bit riddled by injuries, ended up missing the NCAA tournament after making the previous two, played a ton of close games. Brooks Barnhizer, probably the headliner in terms of those injured players, still ended up being a second-round pick in the NBA. But Nick Martinelli, the Big Ten's leading scorer, comes back. They've got a very talented freshman class and several transfers they are very excited about as well. The head coach of the Wildcats, Chris Collins, joins us now. And before we talk about this year's team, I mentioned Brooks Barnhizer getting drafted, despite the fact he essentially missed half the year with an injury. Was really, there are only very few games that he was truly himself last year. But what did it mean to the program to have him draft as first guy at Northwestern who's been drafted?
I mean, it means a lot because when you're building a program, there's a lot of things you want. It starts with building a culture and then being competitive, and then can you be postseason relevant? And those are all things, as it's taken time, we've been able to do. But we hadn't had a guy drafted. And to be able to hear his name called, not only called, but go to Oklahoma City, a championship team who values winning and all the things that we try to be about, I think it's a huge step forward for us, for future guys to see, man, I can go there and get all those things and still be an NBA player.
It feels like a deeper team this year than you've had in the past. Is that accurate, and what does that mean for you in terms of how you're going to play?
I think so now, and I think every coach says that in October, so I want to temper it a little bit. But throughout the course of the summer and through the preseason, we just have more guys, that are capable of doing things. I really like our talent. We're more athletic than we've been. We have more players on the perimeter, that can come in. I think we have quickness and speed in the backcourt to be able to play a little bit faster. Our tempo has always been relatively slow. I'd like to be able to pick up the pace a little bit. Certainly we're still going to play through Nick, and rightfully so, but I'm excited to see how it's going to transpire. I mean, when you have 8 new guys, it all looks good in practice, but until we get out in games and you start putting things together. And I think for me, it's going to be interesting because I've always played kind of a short bench, and that's been what we've had. And now can we get 9-10 guys into a game and be comfortable with it? And that's what I want to do.
I want to bring up Nick. I mean, unbelievable story. Going to Elon first, and then you guys, and then, but his development to be the leading scorer in the Big Ten. I mean, that not everybody does that.
His work habits are incredible, Coach. I mean, I wouldn't put anything past this guy. I mean, he never ceases to amaze me. He's just one of these guys. And it doesn't look pretty, as you know. I call them the flippers. You call them the flipper doodles. It never looks pretty, but it's 20-something in the bank every night. And it's not only that, but it's like competitiveness, toughness, team play, do whatever your team needs to win. And just so happy for him because there's no one who's in the gym more. I mean, anyone who thinks they work hard, try to do a day in the life with Nick Martinelli. I mean, that's what he's about, his drive, his passion. And you love to see it pay off when guys put that kind of time in, and to see him become one of the elite players in this conference, it's been fun to be a part of his journey.
I know you want to play a little faster. You said, a little better depth. But your defense has been really, really good. There's no doubt about it. Defense is about pride, but it's about habits. And you had older guys that were in the program, and those habits came over time. Can you do it again with this group?
I hope so. Like you said, I mean, we had a core group of guys together the past 3 or 4 years that understood the defense and we were aggressive and we were tough and we were in our spots. We were disciplined, and it made it hard to score against us. And even though we have more offensive firepower, we got to be that same level of defensive team. That's a staple in our program, and that's something, if we want to be successful this year, we're going to have to be a really sound, good defensive team.
I want to ask you a little bit about your freshmen. And one of the things that you've made clear is in building a program, you still want to invest in young players. You want to recruit. You want to use the portal to supplement what you're doing, but that the core of your identity is going to be really good young players. There is a ton of excitement over some of these young guys. Tyler Kropp had an unbelievable summer leading the under-19s in scoring for the entire tournament. Trey Singleton, I know, is incredibly highly thought of. You got Jake West, who's a point guard, who I know you're excited about. Give people a sense for this freshman and the degree to which they can contribute.
Yeah, we're really excited about this class. You hit it on the head. In the day and age of portal, I want to stay true to what's made us successful. I mean, you look at the reason we've been good the last couple of years, it's because Ty Berry and Boo Buie and Chase Audige and Brooks Barnheiser and Nick Martinelli and Matt Nicholson, and they stayed. And they played together, and they went through some wars, and they had their ups and downs, and they figured out how to win. And we want to stay true to that and find the guys that fit us, bring young guys in and throw them out there and develop them. And I think this class has a chance to do some special things in their career. I always temper expectations on freshmen because I know how hard the Big Ten is. But I think we have a group of guys that they're about the right things. They're gym rats. They want to get better. They're good players. They're very talented. And I think you're going to see, a handful of those guys make a serious impact on our team this year, which will be exciting.
What about the transfers? And real quick, just how do you feel about them? Who's a key? And also your environment at your home environment has been unbelievable. It's been so good.
Well, we got 3 portal guys that really fit needs. That's what we try to do with the portal, really address needs. The point guard position was huge. Last year, Jalen Leach was kind of a combo guard, not a really good player. But bringing in a Jaden Reed from South Florida, true point guard, can pressure the ball, can push the ball, get into the paint. I think he'll make a big impact. Max Green from Holy Cross can really shoot it. He's a weapon on the floor, 6'7". Really excited what he can bring. And Arrington Page, to me, may be one of the biggest X factors on our team. 6'11", really talented player in his third situation now as a junior. And we're going to need him to bring a high level of play on the front line in order for us to be good. And Welsh Ryan has become great, man. It brings a tear to my eye every time I think about it because Dave knows some of those days.
Bleak.
But now to walk into that gym and to see the environment, I mean, it's become a tough place to play, and we got to keep that going. It's been fun to be a part of it.
Okay, last question for you. We're a little pressed on time, but we have a tradition where I ask every year who your breakout player is going to be, and you have nailed it 3 years in a row. Last year you said Nick Martinelli ended up leading the Big Ten in scoring. You had Brooks one year. You had Ty Berry, who ended up having a great year before he got hurt the year that you were talking about. So who's your breakout guy this year?
I've been under the gun. My family warned me last night. Revson's going to ask you. You're 3 for 3. And you know what's so cool about this team? Honestly, I don't know. And that's an honest thing. We have had a really good group of guys, and I'm really pleased with so many of the returning guys, the young guys. I think there's a number of candidates that can break out, and hopefully that's a positive and not a negative. But I really think that people are going to enjoy watching this group. It's a good group. Nick's going to lead us, and I'm excited to see what we can build.
That's a good non-answer.
Yeah.
Chris
I plead the fifth.
Yeah, Chris has a future in politics if and when he decides. Hey, this is great. Always enjoy it, and best of luck this year.
Thanks, guys.
That is Chris Collins, the head coach of the Northwestern Wildcats. We look at the schedule ahead. Northwestern, some really interesting games in the non-conference this year. They play DePaul. That's a tradition, but you look at that tournament in 2 days, Virginia and South Carolina, really good games. Got Oklahoma State, part of a doubleheader on Thanksgiving at the United Center. Duke will be there as well. You've got a game against Butler in Indy, so some really good stuff. And then obviously you get into the meat of the Big Ten schedule, including those always anticipated games against the Fighting Illini, Andy.
Yeah, no question about it. And one thing that always happens with Northwestern is they don't get the respect that they deserve. And we've seen this before. And it was great that Brooks Barnheiser got drafted when he was hurt. He's obviously earning his way with Oklahoma City. Boo Buie, we never thought got the respect he deserves. Finally, maybe this man will. Nick Martinelli, preseason All Big Ten, returning all the best scorer in the league. It's your time. You're ready to shine. You have the mantle. How ready are you to take it from day one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just super excited for this season. It's been a little bit of a change of pace with all the new guys coming in, and they got a ton of young energy, and having that has really motivated me. getting to be a leader and step into that role. Only time will tell if I was, ready to answer the call, but I'm putting my foot forward every single day, every single practice. I'm not taking one for granted. I have that senior urgency, I have that, that drive, and I'm extremely excited to get out and play this year.
Leadership is a key. Where do you fit in, Justin, as a veteran player?
Yeah, definitely. As a veteran player, being a senior, I obviously looking to, taking a bigger role this year, whether that's contributing offensively or, defensively. And like we mentioned, we got a lot of new young guys and young energy. We got transfers, so me and Nick, just being the seniors, we got to show them the culture and show them what our program is about.
And Justin, you as a sophomore, you played 5 minutes a game at Northwestern your first year on campus. Last season, you all the way up at 23 minutes a game. And towards the end of the season, you got better and better. The confidence started oozing out. What clicked for you halfway through last season that allowed you to finish the way you did?
I would say definitely Coach Collins and my teammates. He spoke a lot of confidence into me as the season kept going. He just kept pushing me to, contribute more on that offensive end, believe in my abilities. And keep working, so that's what I continue to do this offseason, spring and the summer, working on my game and just letting my teammates, keep giving me energy, keep fueling me to become the best player I could be.
Coach didn't want to answer. You couldn't hear this about who could be sort of the next sort of unsung guy or the next breakout guy. Trey Singleton, though, does come in with a lot of hype, high-profile freshman for Northwestern. If you can quickly just tell us what you've seen on the court thus far that fans are going to see when you guys start playing.
Yeah, that kid, he's really, really good. And the one thing that strikes me about him is he loves the game. It gives me a lot of flashes of kind of how me and Brooks carried ourselves, when we were here. He just loves to play the game. He loves everything about it, and he respects the game. He's always there in the training room early. He acts like a veteran. And I definitely think if you're asking me about if I'm ready to go, he's ready to go.
I gotta agree with Nick, man. Like all the hype, I see it. He's a great freshman. He does all the little things that Nick talks about, and when you do that type of stuff as a freshman, it's very scary. To think about where he's gonna be, as a senior, or wherever he ends up at. But he's a great player. I've seen it since day one, and I believe there's a lot of great things coming for Trey.
I appreciate you guys. As always, do not undervalue the Northwestern Wildcats. They are going to pull some upsets and be in the mix.
What a year it was for Michigan State last year. They won the Big Ten regular season title. Didn't just win it, they won it by 3 games. A team that made it all the way to the Elite Eight of the NCAA tournament. Did lose a lot, lost a first-round pick in Jace Richardson, Jaden Akins as well, but some very familiar faces. Jeremy Fears, Coen, Carr, Jackson Kohler did really well in the portal, and again, a much-anticipated year in East Lansing. Tom Izzo, the head coach of the Spartans, joins us now. And Coach, first of all, before we look ahead, I just want to look back. Like, what did last year mean to you to have the kind of year that you did, to win what was a fabulous league and win it going away? I know maybe it ended a game or two, a win or two shy of where you ultimately want to be, where you strive to be as a program, but man, really sent a message of where Michigan State is and can still be.
I bet you Bruce would agree when him and I were assistants to Gene and Judd. Those were tough days, man. This is a piece of cake compared to those days. But I think he'd agree. It kind of taught me what I always believed, that chemistry and culture matter. We were not as talented. You know that, Bruce. And I say that not disrespecting my team. It's just that we weren't as talented as a team, top to bottom. But we did have 10 guys. We had no locker room issues. We had no NIL issues. We had no people that were jealous of people. And we played a lot of people, which is hard to do, as you would know. And one coach was just in charge. We would meet before the game trying to go over how we're going to play them. But it was a fun year. And why did it end? Why did we got to start a new season?
Well, it's season number 31 for you as the head coach of Michigan State. Not that anyone's counting, but that's the number that I came up with. What keeps you going? What keeps you enthused and excited about this?
I don't know. There's times I do question it, like, especially when I see a lot of my friends out and choosing different ways to go. College sports it's in a tough position right now. But I've kind of homed in on my team more, my school more, instead of being on all the committees. Matt Painter, a good friend of Bruce's, and we've been on a lot of committees. Matt still is. But there's so many challenging things going on. There wasn't room for both. And so now I'm just kind of homing on my own team, and I've really enjoyed it so far. I said I still love my job. I just question my profession at times.
He will call sometimes when you say, why do you still do it? And I'll get the call. I don't know. I can't. He's just one out. It's just, you're fine, Tom.
Because you're a friend. I can do that to you.
But in the time of analytics and threes and all that, I just was so happy. What won last year? Toughness, defense, depth, all the things, camaraderie. You had all those things, and I hope somebody young coaches look at it and say, hey, we don't have to shoot 45 threes to still win.
I agree with you, Bruce. I'm not a big fan of analytics. I see it even in pro football. It's starting to come down a little bit now, but everybody gets caught up in that. I used the football analogy 100 years ago or now. You got RPOs, you got all these different offenses and defenses. You got to be able to, in football, you got to be able to block, tackle, and not turn the ball over. In basketball, you still got to be able to be tough, rebound. You got to be able to play defense, and you got to not turn the ball over. So we did a better job in all three of those. We actually got to the free throw line more than some of my teams have in the past. And, it was a fun year because we did the basics. All the changes, the basics are still the basics. That's not old school. It's just what it's supposed to be.
One of the things you're so proud of, when I come up and do a game, what you've built as a program, a family, the former players, the locker rooms, it's just, and when you walk me around, it's almost like I get tears in my eyes, to be honest, because you're so proud of it and the success, and I admire it, but just talk about that.
Yeah, I really do believe the players that built the place are the former players. And these guys are just renting it until they establish until they get to join that group. And you don't get to just join it because you want to join it. You join it because of what you have accomplished. And those former guys have been great, and because Judd was here a long time, and then myself, we've got over 50 years of head coaching in between us. That takes on from the Magic era on up, which has been a pretty good era. And then, when my guys like Cleaves and that, and then, Steve Smith, who I coached as an assistant, they're always coming back. And Draymond is solid as a rock, and so it's kind of moved forward. And a player-coach team is always better than a coach-coach team. I got former players that help. When it comes to March, those guys are all calling, what time of year it is, No, what is it, But that it means something to them.
It's interesting as you go through that litany of players, and I think the big thing that stands out that you've talked about for so many years is that your best teams have had your best leadership. And you go down that list and you think about some of those guys who were fabulous basketball players, but were fabulous leaders as well. I know you think Jeremy Fierce can kind of be in that mold. Tell me a little bit about Jeremy as a leader and how you've seen him manifest
I thought he'd
himself.
definitely be in that mold, and then he had the injury, and that set him back. Then he missed the whole summer. He's had a whole summer to go. It's hard to lead if you don't have confidence in yourself, right, Bruce?
Yes.
And he has confidence in himself now. He's playing better. I do have four guys, in Kohler, Jackson, Jeremy, and Coen that have all started some. Some of them started a lot. That's a lot more than a lot of teams have right now. And we got to bring around some young guys and some new guys. And Jeremy has to have that voice. He has the voice enough. He has to have confidence in his own game, and that's what he's getting.
There's no doubt your big guys got better last year, and you told me now they've continued to get better. It'll probably come down to guard play, right? Just taking care of the basketball. You got to get it to the big guys, and that means taking care of the ball.
And that's our question mark right now, our shooter, is it going to be Kerr? Kerr Tang is one of our guards who's one of our best shooters. Is it going to be Trey, the new, transfer portal guy we got from Mississippi State, and then at one time, some of these guys have been numerous
so many places, yes.
But I don't have many, and one of our best transfers got hurt. Caleb got hurt. Yeah. So right now, I like our freshmen. We've got two freshmen that have really come on, and I like those guys. And so It's a melting pot again, but I think we're going to play 10 players again. And some of that is really good. Some of it's bad because maybe nobody's that far ahead of somebody else, but it leads to a better locker room, and locker rooms are important in sports.
Tom Izzo, head coach of the Spartans. We could do this all day. It's always a pleasure to see you. I measure time by the media day interview with Tom Izzo, right? Another year's upon us.
Well, I could do it with you, but Bruce has been a good friend since, like I said, we got something that you'll never have. You work for Judd and Gene. You are canalized in this area. We're good forever, right, Bruce?
Yes, he would say, Judd did this. Well, I can tell you something better. Gene did this.
They're survivor tales.
Yes. But we love them.
Yes.
They're both great.
Yes.
All right. Thanks a lot, Coach. Always
Thank you.
a pleasure to see you. Take a look at what's ahead for Tom Izzo and Michigan State. Never one to shy away from challenging non-conference games. As evidence of that, I present you with Arkansas, Kentucky, North Carolina, and Duke. All of those games in November and December. And then you see the Big Ten schedule, which is not for the faint of heart either, Andy.
Yeah, a lot of blue bloods there, and Arkansas now led by John Calipari. So quite the slate that these two men to my left will have to deal with. Andy Katz, Raphael Davis, Coen Carr, Jeremy Fears Jr. Don't need to discuss who left, but a couple guys did leave. You two stayed. Start with you, Jeremy. Why?
Just the family, the culture, what Coach has done for me. Even when I got injured, Coach stuck with me. Didn't go get no portal guard, and stuck it out, and we won the Big Ten. So it's only right that I'm here, helping win games and enjoy it.
Yeah, like I would say, just the atmosphere and who Coach is. I feel like that's somebody you want to play for, you want to keep playing for. So it wasn't really no decision to me. I knew I was going to stay automatically. Yeah.
You guys, and I played at Purdue, but I think you guys have one of the more unique histories and one of the unique unity between alumni. Yeah. What does Grind Week mean to you guys?
It means a lot, to see all the players come back from different eras, just to see. You just want to pick their brain and just talk to them, All you're doing is listening. You try to be a sponge as much as you can to see what they got to say and, try to use it, what they say to help you.
I definitely say for me, it was one of the coolest things I ever experienced. It's like some of these are Hall of Famers, won Big Ten championships, won national college championships. Just them being here and talking to us, taking time out their day to be with us is just special. Like, who's gonna come back to their college that they went to spend time for a weekend with kids that look up to them or want to be in position that they're in.
Yeah. And I've been watching both of y'all for a long time, and I'll start with you, Jeremy. I would describe you as a leader of men. Since you were 15 years old playing A, you've been a leader of men. Where's that background of leadership come from with you?
I definitely think my family. Obviously I'm the oldest brother. I have two younger brothers, and just my parents and my dad and mom told me I got to lead them. So just kind of leading them was the baby steps, and from there it's just something I love to do with basketball. So just being a leader and vocal on the court was kind of like second nature.
Last year we sat in these chairs, and Michigan State was not predicted to win the league. Yeah. You guys won it by 3 games. You're faced kind of a similar situation. A lot of unknowns, picked 6th for whatever that's worth. Why will the preseason rankings be wrong again?
I'll definitely say just because the group of guys we have a good core coming back, that kind of knows what's going on. We have a great young freshman class coming in, Cam and Jordan, and then transfers. So just piecing it together, our chemistry, and we play all well, and we know what we have to do to get the job done.
Yeah, like you said, I feel like the team we have this year is kind of similar to the one we had last year. I feel like our camaraderie and our togetherness is going to be even better than we were last year. So I feel like all the factors come into play, I feel like we're going to be a great team.
And I agree, you guys got one of the better cores, not just in the Big Ten, but in the country coming back. But like Andy said, you lost some pieces. Yeah. And Coen, I've been watching you since you was at Legacy Early High School down there in South Carolina. Your game has grown so much the last 4 or 5 years. But when you look at this year's team, someone's got to score the ball. Yeah. And when you look at clips of how you guys been practicing, you've been putting that thing in the basket. Where has your game grown since we used to watch you in South Carolina?
Yeah, it's grown a lot. Like you said, my overall game has grown. I feel like I'm dribbling the ball better. I'm shooting better. I'm even becoming a playmaker for everybody else. I still have, I still like to do what I do best, which is get to the rim. And I feel like me getting to the rim, putting pressure on the basket, I can make plays for other guys, kickouts and stuff like that. So I just been working on my all-around game.
And one thing for sure, Jeremy is going to feed Coen way, way up above the rim.
Definitely.
The Oregon Ducks, a team that made it to the round of 32 last year. What a run Dana Altman has had in Eugene. Amazing. Never failed to win 20 games, and a team that brings back its top 2 scorers, which is no small feat in this day and age. Nate Bittle and Jackson Shelstad, both coming back. Both guys who got preseason all-conference mention, a good portal class as well. So a lot to be excited about in Eugene as we are joined by the head coach of the Ducks, Dana Altman. And Coach, first of all, just, it was a year of transition for you. And so I'm interested from all of the coaches from the former Pac-12 schools coming to the Big Ten. What did you learn in year 1 about being in the Big Ten?
Our coaching staff, our players, our fans, a lot of new venues, a lot of new teams coming to Eugene. So I think, everyone enjoyed it. It was exciting to play so many different teams, and I think our players really enjoyed it. So it was great. Big Ten, a little more physical maybe than the Pac-12, but not that big a difference. Some teams, Michigan State beat us up a little bit, but
join the club.
Yeah. And so anyway, I thought it was great. And after 14 years in the Pac-10, Pac-12, it was an exciting time for all of us.
Well, you played exciting games. I mean, you guys had an incredible knack for pulling out close games. To what do you attribute that, and how do you carry it forward?
Well, it was, we had a lot of one-possession games, not only in the Big Ten, but NCAA tournament and preseason or pre-conference season. So we had an experienced team, which helps. Jackson at the point guard helps, a guy that can go get his own shot. Keyshawn hit a lot of key shots for us, a fifth-year guy, so that age and having an old team helps. So we've got some experience back, which I think will help us in close games. But you look across college basketball, there's a lot of one-possession games, two-possession games, where you better get a defensive stop or you better hit a big shot, run a good possession late to pull one out. But across college basketball, a lot of one-two possession games, and I think we had 12 of them last year, so we had quite a few.
I don't think people nationally understand what you've accomplished in your career. It's 780 wins. You're a Naismith Hall of Famer, 4 different conferences. You were Coach of the Year. Now the Big Ten. You got to add a 5th one there somehow there. But
no pressure.
And Dave asked Tom Izzo just before, why do you keep doing it? I know you love it. It's part of our lives. It's hard to get away from it. But what drives you right now?
Well, I appreciate that, Bruce, especially coming from you. We had a lot of battles back in the day.
Yes, we did. And some one-possession games.
A lot of one-possession games. But, no, I love coaching. I love going to the gym. Games are torture, but practice is a lot of fun. I enjoy being around the guys. My grandson, Carter, enjoys it. And so, no, I love coaching. I always have. Been really fortunate. Been at really good schools. Kansas State, Creighton, and now at Oregon. I've been luckier than most. Had really good staffs. Guys have stayed with me. Coach McKenna, 25 years. Coach Fish, 20. Stubbs back. Josh is back. I've been really fortunate to have guys stay with me. But, it all goes back to players. And at Oregon, Creighton, we had really good players. We've had really, really good guys that want to compete, want to be part of a team, really unselfish. So in that respect, 37 years, been really fortunate.
Last year, I had your game. You guys were dying. I think you lost 4 or 5 in a row. And, then I thought you were going to retire, to be honest. But you always have a knack of getting to play well at the end of the year. Is there something magical, or is just how it is? And you say players, you give credit to the players, but it's something about you and your staff.
Well, we ran into a real tough stretch there. We had 4 out of 5 on the road, at Michigan, at Michigan State, at UCLA. We lost our home game to Nebraska. Nate Bittle was banged up. And if you look at the analytics, when Nate was on the floor, we were really good. And sometimes when he was off, both offensively and defensively, we struggled. And he was banged up during that stretch. We didn't play well. But, you know, I think that's one thing about having an experienced staff that's been with you. They know that we can still pull it out because we have in previous years, so they don't give up on you. The players don't give up on you, you know, and you just keep sending the same message. And you hope something good happens, something that lights a fire. I think we won 8 or 9 there down the stretch and got things going again. But again, you got to have a staff that believes, and then you get the players to believe that, hey, we're still got a lot to play for. And again, it still goes back to players, but having a great staff that believes in what you're doing really helps.
You've got a couple players that everyone in the league, I think, recognizes how good they can be, and they're preseason all-conference guys. What's the next step for Nate and for Jackson to get even better?
They've worked really hard in the offseason, so that was the first step. You know, not taking last year and just assuming that it was going to happen again. They both had great off seasons, worked really hard. Nate's improved his body, extended his range a little bit. I think he'll be a little more consistent three-point shooter. Jackson is always in the gym. You know, he continues to work. We got to make some more shots for Jackson. I thought I did a poor job last year of creating opportunities for him, you know, getting guys to penetrate and kick to him and getting him some more opportunities. He's a really good catch-and-shoot three-point shooter. The year before, Jermaine Kusnar did a great job. And last year, I just didn't think we had enough penetration kicks for him, so we got to do a better job there. But those two guys have worked really hard in the offseason, have done a good job. KJ Evans has done a good job. We had 3 guys come back that didn't get to play a lot year. Dez was hurt, Sasha was hurt, Jamari Phillips, a freshman, didn't get to play much. We're depending on those 3 guys to make a big step. Added some pieces through the portal. So, you know, I like where we're at. We got to get Jackson healthy. He broke his hand and is going to be out for 6 weeks. It'll slow our development as a team, you know, not having him out there. I don't think it'll hurt Jackson much because he's in great shape, and I think he'll get back right away. But I think it'll hurt our team developing quickly because he'll have the ball in his hands a lot. He knows our system. He knows what to look for first, second, third looks. So I think it'll slow us down a little bit in that regard.
Head coach of the Ducks, Dane Altman. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Looking forward to see Oregon in action this year. Let's take a look at the schedule ahead for the Ducks. You see some of the non-conference battles, including that rivalry game with Oregon State November the 17th. Remember, the 2 plays, as always, is going to be the case here going forward, at least for the foreseeable future, are the other West Coast schools. So you see the games against USC, UCLA, and Washington. Those are all home and homes. They've got a game against Gonzaga as well, December 21st. So a lot of intriguing matchups for Oregon, Andy.
And the storyline here in the preseason, unfortunately, is the right hand of Jackson Shelstad. Joining us here on our desk along with Nate Bittle, Rafael Davis. Jackson, give us the update. What's the latest with that right hand?
Yeah, so, I mean, I've had this cast on for about a week. They gave me about a 4 to 6 week kind of thing where I'm going to have to just take things slowly, no contact. I'm doing as much as I can, though, still getting cardio in, ball handling, working on my left hand, all that kind of stuff. But right now, I just got to be patient and let the hand heal.
Let me follow up on that. Obviously, you can't, as Coach was just saying, you can't do everything in terms of building that on-court chemistry while you're out during these practices. But now as a leader,
for sure,
upperclassman, what can you do in that aspect of your game to help this team come together?
Yeah, I mean, this is a great time for me to work on other things, and that's leadership. Being in the program for 3 years, we got a lot of new faces on our team, so you know, just using my voice and doing whatever I can to help the new guys. Coach Altman, you know, he's been having me lead like our dry offense at the start of practice, so I've been calling plays out, stuff like that, just getting more comfortable using my voice. being in the system for some years, now being the point guard of the team.
Nate, you, in my opinion, you were one of the better two-way players in the country on the offensive end and on the defensive end when it came to protecting the rim and the paint. You had a chance to dibble and dabble in the NBA draft and the workouts and all that. You decided to come back to Oregon. What went into that decision? Why'd you come back?
Yeah, I got a lot of good feedback of, what people want to see me improve on and stuff like that. So, I've been working on changing my body. That's a big thing, getting in the best shape that I can be in. I'm not going to be at my best when, I'm getting tired of not being able to go get some rebounds, block some shots and stuff like that. So definitely getting into shape. Offense is there. I can shoot the ball, play inside. But, I think it's getting those percentages even higher than what they were. Just continuing to put in work every single day, before and after practice, shots, post-ups, being able to move my feet quickly, to be able to switch 1 through 5, in case I get switched on to, some of these quicker guards in the Big Ten. So, I got a lot of good feedback, and we're gonna go back, we were in the lab all summer. And we're gonna keep working on those things and improve for this season.
Yeah, I'm excited. And then for you, Jackson, I know you're dealing with your hand injury right now, but when I go back to last season, when I look at you guys in conference play, conference wins, 17 points a game, 50% from the field, close to 50% from 3. You struggled in losses, obviously. What did you focus on and emphasize this summer to make sure that you're more consistent throughout the conference season this year?
Yeah, consistent's a big word. I just gotta go out there and play aggressive and just be confident in my game. I feel like I began the season a little slow in a slump last season. Conference play came around and I kind of found my groove a little bit, but I just got to go out this season and play confident and, just trust my game. I know my teammates trust me and trust my work, really.
Here's what I love about covering the two of you. You guys love the big moment. When the game's on the line, whether it's a big three-point shot, whether it's a block, something defensively, or calling for it down low. What is it about those moments, to start with you, Nate, that the two of you specifically thrive in?
Yeah, I think it's, a lot to do with, our teammates trusting us, especially, when we were at Wisconsin this last year, we got that inbounds where we hit Jackson. I've seen Jackson shoot that step back every day in practice, every day in workouts. So, I know he's made for those moments, whether it's in the paint or blocking a shot, I think, we just get set up in those right moments, right positions, right time to go make those plays. And I think, just the hours we put in, the work we put in translates, and, we're able to make those plays.
For sure. I agree with everything Nate said. Our teammates trust us, and, that's huge. And I think they see us putting the work in. So that's where that trust comes from. But, like those deep threes I shoot at the end of games and stuff, that's just like a routine shot for me because I work on that all the time. So when I'm in that moment, I just trust myself and I kind of just black out. I don't really pay attention to the score or the crowd or anything. Like, I'm just kind of there and, I just go and play my game. And, that's why a lot of times I love those moments because I feel like I put that work in to get there.
All right, Duck fans, don't worry. That cast will be off soon. He will be making big-time shots and distributing for the Ducks this season.
Here is the story with the Washington Huskies entering year number 2 under Danny Sprinkle, a team that needs to replace 4 of its top 5 scorers. But, man, they got some guys who can play in the portal, including a lot of familiar faces to Big Ten fans. Andy was mentioning it a moment ago. Both Desmond Claude and Wesley Yates coming over from USC, Lathan Somerville from Rutgers, some other players in the portal who we will become familiar with coming up this year as Danny Sprinkle looks to get things going in Seattle. And the Husky coach joins us now. And Coach, I asked this of Dana. I'm going to ask the same thing of you. Just for you, it was a double transition, right? Because you were new at the program and you were new to the league. But what did you learn about competing in the Big Ten last year that you can use as you go forward in managing your roster?
Yeah, I think, the one thing we addressed is you got to have depth in this league. You're going to have injuries, you're going to have foul trouble, and the best teams got, 10, 12 guys they can go to on any given night. And so we had to really add to our depth, which I think we did in the transfer portal and with some of our high school kids. But the ability to emotionally kind of stay on a even keel, I think that's a bit, the league's too hard. You're going to face adversity multiple times. Not just once or twice. You're going to hit it 5, 6, 7, 8 times, and you have to be able to clean the slate the next morning and build towards the next game you play. And the teams that can do that quicker have a better chance of being successful.
There's such a trend right now in the game of having rosters where you have a lot of new players. And I guess I'm always interested in the balancing act, kind of how much of your time has been spent in the preseason figuring out rotations and making sure that everyone's on the same page versus kind of doing what it is that you want to do schematically once you get into the teeth of the season.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much that's all we've done up until this point.
Okay.
You know, because we got to figure out different rotations. We have so many new guys. You know, I didn't want to pigeonhole anybody into a role. I wanted to see what they could do in the summer. I didn't tell anybody what a good shot, a bad shot was. I wanted to see how they played and if they could kind of figure out their roles on their own. Now, some guys I'm going to have to tell them, you know, like, hey, we don't need you shooting that shot early in the shot clock, or I need you getting the ball to the paint finding guys, you know, just for us to be the best team we can be. But now that we actually have some data and we stat every practice, so we actually have some factors that go into, okay, this is who we need you to be for us to be the best team.
There's a term I use. It was osmosis, and I learned it in biology. I wanted them to figure out their role through osmosis.
Yep.
I did not want to take a bat and pound it into them, and that's when they learn by just on their own. It really helps. That for you as a coach, you 3 different programs in 3 years. Now you're settled in. Not only was it a new program, new league, but now 2 years in a row. Do you feel more comfortable? Do you feel like the staff, everybody, is that help you now?
No question. You know, I actually felt like my feet got settled in Seattle probably late June this year. Like, I didn't feel settled all through the whole first year. Once June kind of hit and the team started to come back, like the new team, I actually felt like, okay, we got our feet underneath us. We got what we need, somewhat established. Now we can start building. And, year one, as you know anywhere, I mean, it's hard. Just not only just emotionally, but like physically, mentally, like, you're recruiting a whole new team. And now, like, I really feel like, okay, we know what the conference looks like. We know what the travel's like. Like, we've had those firsthand experiences. And so now we know where we're going. And it's going to be hard as hell to get there, but we know where we're trying to get now.
You got some guards. I told you before. I mean, you look at that roster. I mean, you got some guards that can make some plays. What, not only getting those guys to figure out their roles, but what beyond the guards is going to be a key for you guys to have success?
Obviously our guard play is one of our strengths. They got to play great, but they got to play great for each other. They got to be able to create shots for each other, and I think we have some guards that can do that. I think some of the best teams I've had, my guards have played well off each other. They shared the basketball, and they shared in each other's success. But I really think, like, our bigs are very capable this year. We didn't have much depth last year other than great. Big Frank, he only played, I think, like the last 10 games. He's been healthy all spring and summer and looks great. Lathan Somerville adds depth. Jacob Ogniksevich, he just actually hurt his foot the other day, but hopefully he'll be back by, mid-January. Hannes Steinbeck, very talented freshman who, I think can do great things. And so, like, we still have to get those guys the ball, and some of those guys we can play through. And so we have a lot of different options playing big and small, which I think is going to help us be a pretty good team.
It is interesting that you have a number of Big Ten transfers, so guys that you have played against and had to develop scouting reports for. To what extent does that help you when you're in the portal, when you see guys go in, to say, hey, I understand what this guy's about and feel like he could be a fit?
Yeah. I mean, it was important to us, me and my staff, because they've seen the Big Ten environments. They've seen Big Ten physicality. They've played against the styles that they're going to play, and they produced at a pretty high level. And so, that was important. But the other thing that we really wanted to attack this year with portal is I wanted to get guys that had been coached. I wanted to get guys that had come from programs that knew how to win, that had a defensive standard, that had been coached very hard and very well, to hopefully make it easier for us.
Danny Sprinkle, head coach of the Huskies. Thanks, Coach.
You bet. Appreciate you guys.
Here's the schedule ahead for Washington. Coming up, you see early non-conference test against the Baylor Bears. They continue the tradition of playing Washington State in much the same way that we talked about with Oregon. Remember those 2 plays against the Ducks, and USC and UCLA. You see that December date with the Trojans. In fact, both of the December dates are with fellow West Coast teams, UCLA and USC. Let's send it back now over to Andy with a couple of Washington star players.
Yeah, Dave, it's going to be pretty interesting for that December 6th game at USC, considering 2 Trojans are on the Huskies now. Wesley Yates not here. Desmond Clott is here. Zoom Diallo returns to Washington, joined by Rayfeld Davis. Now, Desmond, I covered for the Big Ten Network that USC-Washington game last year. The Trojans drilled the Huskies. It wasn't even close. And yet, you joined them. Why?
I just believe in what Coach had planned and, with how he orchestrated the team. Everything just made sense for me, and I was able to trust him. It just all made sense, and it came together. And then, Wes came over there too, so, everything was going to work out.
Maybe you felt bad. I don't know. It was an offensive explosion. Now you can do the same thing in Seattle.
Yeah, different team though. It's a different team now, so
I know.
Yeah, it'll look way different.
Zoom, I like your watch. You iced out, my boy. But look, checking it. Yeah, I've been watching you since you was at Prolific Prep in high school, and your game has gotten better every year. And last season, as every freshman does, you have your ups and you have your downs. Your ups, they were up, and then your downs, they were downs. What did you work on this offseason to prepare you going into your sophomore year? Because everyone always says that freshman to sophomore year, that's the biggest jump of someone's collegiate career.
Right. I'll probably say for me, myself, I kind of went and watched, a lot of film on the games. Just watching what I need to improve on. One thing definitely was just being a confident shooter, working on that. I've been doing that the whole offseason, and just my reads, being better on my reads, just, looking up on the court, just knowing where my teammates are and where they are going to be. So I think those are two main things that, I worked on. I progressed. The time will tell until it comes, but, the whole offseason just been, a lot of time of work and just staying consistent.
And Desmond, similar question. Last year, first year in the Big Ten at USC, you had 5 conference games where you had 25 plus or more in the ball game. Crazy for your first year in the conference. What did you go into the offseason taking away from last season that you learned that will help you going into year 2 in this conference?
Just making better reads. One thing that I have to do better at that was a little bit of an issue last year was just turnovers, but just making the right reads and just being more confident. And also a big step is just shooting the ball, just shooting it like I'm shooting good. Elbows are good from when I had the surgery last summer. So just being able to continue to have the confidence to shoot it and be consistent with it as well.
Zoom, love the bling there over there.
It's crazy, ain't it?
I appreciate it.
I mentioned that game. You were on the other side because you were playing for Washington.
Right.
What did you see, though, in the couple games you played against USC in Desmond and Wesley that now, as teammates, you're hoping they can do for Washington?
Those two players are electric. It's good that it's great actually that I have them on my side now, to be honest with you. But just seeing what they can do on the court. Des, he can be aggressive. Make plays for others. Wes, he's a great shooter. He knows how to get off the dribble. He knows how to be ready whenever. So having those two players aside, and especially in practice, is pretty competitive. And me being a player to get to where I want to get to, you always got to compete with the best and the others that are special. So in practice, we're competing every day, getting each other better, and I feel like that's just going to be a testament for what we do this year.
All right, sleeper team. You agree?
Oh, I think they're going to have one of the best backcourts in the country. I think Washington right now, you look at the starters, you look at the guys coming off the bench, 5-6 guards as a collective. I think Washington has the best set of guards, no question.
All right, no one's sleeping on you then. This is going to be an NCAA tournament team, right? We like bold statements
here. Got to get a rebound.
Here's a story with UCLA. Year 1 in the Big Ten for the Bruins. Got them into the NCAA tournament. They were a second-round NCAA tourney team. Got a lot of star power back. Tyler Bilodeau is their leading scorer from a year ago. Eric Gayle back as well. So top 2 scorers back for Mick Cronin, and got one of the really big portal stars in Donovan Dent, who was the Mountain West Player of the Year at New Mexico. Mick Cronin is with us now, and Mick, I'm nothing if not predictable, so I've asked the other 2 West Coast guys this. I'm going to ask you the same thing, just because I'm interested in what surprised you in year 1. What did you learn in year 1 in the Big Ten that maybe you didn't know, and how does it impact kind of how you run your program going forward here?
I thought the parity was what I thought it would be. We had that weird thing last year where 3 teams didn't make the Big Ten tournament, and there was a 6-way tie at 7-13. So how many leagues have 6 teams finish with the same record? So the parity, I thought, was there. I think coaching in some of the arenas was what I thought it would be. Illinois was awesome. Indiana, Purdue. This year we get to go to Michigan State. So there wasn't a whole lot that really surprised me. I knew the coaching was great. Some of the atmospheres were awesome. And some of the weather's terrible.
Really?
We're spoiled. Trust me, we're spoiled. Every day, Bruce, when I go to work, I turn left on Sunset Boulevard. Okay? And there's not much better than that.
You spend a fair amount of your time in your life and in your career not turning west on streets called, or they would be misnamed. Sunset
there was
Boulevard.
no Sunset.
Cincinnati, yeah.
No Sunset.
I don't know the streets in Cincinnati that well, but
might have been a tanning salon.
Hey, tell me a little bit about Donovan Dent. I mean, I mentioned it. Guy everyone wanted in the portal. Give us a sense for his game, how he fits in, and.
Well, first of all, he's a good guy.
Yeah,
he's a good guy. We're adjusting to each other. When you have an offensive talent like him, you've got to try to make sure you're giving him the room to operate to be at his best. You get him in the open court, he's really unstoppable. Not just for himself, but for his teammates. He's an elite passer. And then, he's adjusting to me with my demands on his defensive effort and to tighten up his ball security. So it's a process, but he's got real offensive talent, and his teammates love him because look, you're going to be wide open because it's really hard to defend him with one guy if you put him in the right space. And I'm just trying to get him to realize he doesn't have to overdo it for us, Coach. Like, we have other guys, and Sky Clark, Tyler Bilodeau, Eric Daly, Trent Perry off the bench. Like, we got big guys that can finish running to the rim with him. So he doesn't have to force maybe the action as much as he did last year.
I was going to ask Dana this, and I'm not asking you the travel.
Yeah.
The new league. Last year I sat with Dana, and he goes, Coach, we have 6 trips we're going to have to go. Did it take a toll on the guys, do you think, or did they get used to it? And we always say, you're going to be an NBA guy, you're going to have to do it anyway, so you might as well get used to it if that's where you think you can be.
The difference is the pros don't go to class. And they don't have homework.
Yes.
I got in a little trouble for saying something about our flight in the NCAA tournaments. We didn't have the internet, but I was dead serious. Like at UCLA, we're in a quarter system. Our guys are in finals. And it's an elite school, Coach. So we take proctors with us, not just the academic people. And literally, guys are taking finals. We're planning to take it on the plane on the way to Lexington for the NCAA tournament. But to answer your question, I think there's a time in your schedule where the travel will affect you. For us, it happened after Christmas. We rebounded. We went on a roll after that. I think late in the year we handled it better. But I think it's inevitable at some point for the West Coast teams because you have to travel more. It's going to have an effect on you. But look, there's the Big Ten regular season champion, not to say it doesn't matter, but this day and age, it's all about March Madness, getting to the tournament. Yep. So you got to try to use it to grow. The key is not to panic. Because like they say in the NBA, sometimes the schedule is going to get you. And we played 2 home games out of our first 7 Big Ten games. So no matter what happens early, we got to realize that's a tough stretch.
And that's why you responded. Then you got home, and then you won games. It's not brain surgery, right? That's pretty simple. So you've accomplished so much. I looked at it, 22 seasons, 503 wins. That's unbelievable. Conference Coach of the Year. 3 times. Has your style changed? Are you going to change this year a little bit?
I think you always have to adjust your personnel. I think all of us have changed. The Big Ten has changed. People say, what's it like to coach in the Big Ten? Well, there was a time of ground and pound, right?
Yes.
I mean,
I was there.
Many years.
60 passes.
You were leading the way.
You
weren't just there.
How about when you were an assistant?
Yes, that's what we had 60 passes on one possession.
Right. Now that's pre-shot clock. We're now
the defense.
You got analytics involved and floor spacing and 7-foot guys shooting threes. I mean, the world has just completely changed. So I think you have to adjust to it. Obviously, with us, We have a dynamic guy out front with the ball and Donovan Dent, but also Sky Clark and Trent Perry. So our guard play is a strength of our team. Spacing the floor with Tyler Bilodeau as a shooter, as a bigger guy, is a strength of our team. And having some guys back like Eric Daly, who had a great sophomore year, averaged double figures as a sophomore. Look, a returning player, as you know, is a premium this day and age. I mean, we used to always have returning players. You know, I mean, you had a team that you had with D Brown and Darren Williams and Augustine. I remember that team.
Yeah.
You had those guys. They all came back, and you went to the national championship game. You know, nowadays, if you have 3, you got a lot of returners. So that's a good thing for us.
Speaking of going to national championship games, UCLA has an unbelievable tradition. So I think to a certain extent this is an expectation when you're at a place like UCLA. But you're a team that's being talked about as a top 10 team, as a Final Four capable team. How do you address that, if at all, with your guys?
Well, what I did was called Brian Dutcher, and I said, let's play an exhibition game at San Diego State, where they'll pack the house. UCLA's never played there, and probably stick it to us. And
here's how good we are.
Get them humbled.
That should humble the troops really quick when we go down there for that game. You like that move, Coach?
Yes, I do. I think it's great.
You know, play is tough. The new rule where you can play Division I teams in exhibitions is huge. Then I called one of the best coach on the West Coast that nobody knows, Russell Turner. Let's play Irvine, who I want no part of in the regular season.
They beat me in the NCAA tournament,
He beats
so I know.
He beats everybody. You know, let's play them in an exhibition where you can't get a basket inside of 6 feet against Irvine as long as Coach Russell Turner's there. So I think you got to try to make it hard on them early, you know, give them a little bit of a dose of reality. I've been giving it to them in practice. I don't have a problem telling them.
I find that very easy to believe.
But I still think they think they're a little bit better than I think they are right now. So, you know, it's all about where you finish, not where you start. Yeah. So, you know, but I think show me as somebody, a team or a person that's not humble, and I'll show you one getting ready to get humbled.
Well, you've shown your hand here. If they're watching, they now understand the strategy.
Yes.
Mick Cronin, this was great. Thanks a lot, Coach. Appreciate you. That is the head coach of the Bruins, Mick Cronin. We take a look at the schedule. These are the games that are going to count. These aren't the exhibition games, and some really good ones there. And talk about elite West Coast teams that they're going to be playing. Arizona, Gonzaga, obviously the conference rivals in Washington and Oregon. And then you see some of the games in the Midwest, including battles at Michigan and Michigan State. The home and home with USC right there at the end of the year for the Bruins and the Trojans. A lot to look forward to with this crew. Should be a fabulous team, Andy.
It definitely should, and I want to pick up on that schedule and a point that Mick Cronin was talking about in terms of traveling. Andy Katz, Raphael Davis here with Tyler Bilodeau and Sky Clark. And it's pretty interesting that UCLA's non-conference schedule does not leave the Pacific time zone. And Mick just talked about the 2 exhibition games, also in the Pacific time zone at San Diego State, home Irvine. I was with you guys in New York last year. That didn't go as well. I mean, there was a lot of travel in the conference and in the non-conference. UCLA ends up pulling out of that CBS Sports Classic that would have been in Atlanta. What are your thoughts on keeping everything in November and December in one time zone?
Yeah, I think it'll be good for us. Obviously, you know, we had to get used to the travel last year and everything, but you know, we're a West Coast team, and there's a lot of great teams on the West Coast. So I think getting those games will be really good for us.
Yeah, like what Sky said, I think it's going to be good. You know, with so much travel during the Big Ten regular season, I think it'll just be good to kind of get our bearings, get everything right for the season, and the Big Ten schedule.
Sky, you picked it up to finish last season. When you look at it, you go back and look at the way you guys finished out. Your final 7 wins of the year, you were averaging over 13 points a game. You were at 55% from the field. You were at 47% from 3. What clicked for you throughout the end of the season, the way it allowed you to finish the way you did?
I think just the whole season, I was on a new team and everything, and I was still just trying to find my role. I was also going through some personal things, and, you know, I just had a great support system around me. And I have great teammates, I had a great coaching staff and everything. And, they just really instilled a lot of confidence in me in the whole year. And I think that just showed the last few games.
So, and we know you got you, Tyler, you got you, Sky, you got Trent Perry, one of my favorite players that no one talks about. You still got Eric Daly, but you guys added a bunch of players in that mix, including Donovan Dent, which we all talk about. But who has surprised you guys outside of the people that we all know? Who's kind of popped off this offseason and during practice?
Well, I'm going to have to go with, Book and Steven Jamerson been playing well, but I think Jamar Brown has really took a big step for us. Just every day in practice, brings it every single day. One of the best rebounders, at the guard spot that I've seen. So I think he's a huge pickup for us.
Yeah, I'd agree. All the pieces we've added have been amazing for us, and but I'd say Jamar definitely has been one of the biggest. He's literally impossible to box out. He plays so hard. He could go play the whole practice. I was like, yo, you need a sub? He'd be like, nah, I'm good. He'll go get 2 more offensive rebounds. So he's going to be great for us.
And when you say Book, you mean Xavier Booker, the transfer from Michigan State. Mick Cronin was saying that he gets on you guys sometimes. That's no shocker there. We're not breaking news. But what is the difference a year ago when there was a lot of new faces, including the two of you, to his coaching, to now this year where there's a core returning and he may not have to get on you guys as much, maybe the newcomers, but you can also help bridge that gap of like, okay, this is what he's trying to do. Now let's all come together. How has that worked out this year versus last year? Start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think we know what to expect, especially with this returning group. We know what Coach Conan's all about, what UCLA basketball is about. And I think with the new guys and those younger guys, I think we can help bring them along and, make things as smooth as possible and just trying to get better every day.
Yeah, like he said, we know what to expect from Cronin. He knows what to expect from us. We know what to expect from each other. And we're definitely telling the new guys, like, what to expect from Cronin. And, just do what he says, play hard, work hard. Don't be on nothing crazy, and it's going to be a fun time for sure.
You like that? Do what he says.
Yep.
Listen.
Keep it simple.
Yes.
Yep.
These two guys have a legit shot to be part of a Final Four team out of the Big Ten. UCLA is going to be a team to watch throughout the course of the season.
The Minnesota Golden Gophers beginning year 1 under Nico Medved, largely a new team for the Gophers. They do have Isaac Osama, a familiar face, back, but 9 players out of the portal, a couple of freshmen. Portal players, Kate Tyson coming over from North Carolina, Chancey Willis from Western Michigan, among others, Bobby Durkin from Davidson, really good player. So a lot to be excited about, but a lot of new faces and a lot of figuring out roles for Nico Medved, who joins us now. Nico, this is such a cool story. We were talking with Ben McCollum earlier, and it's pretty similar, right? This is the team you grew up going to games. You went to school there, which I think adds that you were a student manager. What does it mean to be the head coach of the Gophers?
It's surreal. I'll be honest, I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about it. As you know, you take this job and you're just diving into doing your job, of recruiting, coaching, trying to build your culture, connecting in the community. But yeah, there are moments when you walk into the barn or around the community, and it's the place I grew up and started to fall in love with basketball. It's great to have my mom and dad, that I'm able to see more, go to an occasional Sunday dinner. But it really is. It's surreal, and I'm sure it'll feel even more that way when we really tip off for real. But it's pretty cool.
I mentioned 11 newcomers. What was kind of the overriding philosophy as you built your roster?
Well, I mean, there was one returning player in the program that had played last year, Isaac Osama. That another young man, Grayson Grove, who redshirted. So really 2 players left. So we knew, it was going to be a start over, so to speak. We were able to take Jalen Crocker-Johnson with us from Colorado State, who really, really came on last year as a sophomore when we had such a good year. And he's been able to bring some stability. But, obviously, you've got to add a level of talent to your roster. We're playing, in my opinion, the best league in the country. But also, we need high-character guys. We need guys that we really believe that will really fight to lay the foundation of what we need to do here moving forward. I think that's been what we've done in all the other programs. We've had great guys. And so our staff's really done that. We've got talented players. We've got really good people. And I think that's really shown here since we've been together since the summer. And really, really buying in, fun to be around. I enjoy going to practice every day. And that's a big deal moving forward.
To have a couple of your guys come with you it's so important to keep the culture, for them to be, are they the leaders? Are they the guys that have helped you as you've made this transition?
Yeah, and you know, they know what it's supposed to look like. They know how you do things. They know why we win, what to believe in, what to trust, and they help, you know, sell and permeate that down to your team. But a lot of it's just the way they go about their daily business and practice, and how they act on and off the court. And Jalen's been awesome that way. And so, yeah, you don't know what you would do without him, to be honest.
You know, you were part of the Big Ten, but it's been a while. Yeah. What do you know about the league? What do you expect? You know, there's not going to be many surprises, to be honest. But you know, what's your mentality going into this?
Well, I think, you know, I'm really excited about. I mean, it's sobering when you look at the Big Ten and you look at the coaches and programs, but I'm excited to challenge ourselves against the best in the business. That's what you sign up for. I think the biggest change is you just look at, there's 18 teams now, and you look at the guys leading all 18 of those programs. I mean, everyone knows there's no nights off, but there's really no nights off. And that's going to be an incredible challenge. But I think, can you stay in the fight? You know, you can't get down if you lose. You know, you can play well and lose 3 in a row in this league easily. But you know what? You find a way to win 2 in a row, and your life feels like it's changing too. So you just got to really enjoy the journey, keep getting better. Maybe there's not a lot of surprises, but I think having 18 teams in a league, that's something we haven't seen.
Stylistically, what should fans expect from your team?
I like the way our teams have always played. They played an unselfish brand. You look at our teams across the board, they've always been among the leaders in the country in assists to field goals made. We've also been among the leaders in 2-point field goal percentage, even though we haven't been big. I think we cut well, we move it well, we put a lot of pressure on the paint. We've been a connected team defensively that's feisty, that scraps, and a team I hope that pulls for each other. And I think at the places that we've been, we play a brand that our fans can get excited about cheering for. And that's really our charge this year, is to start to build those things.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say what I've seen. It's a well-coached team, and I'm not just saying that because you're here. You get your guys to play, and you coach them, and they'll give you a chance.
Well, we really need to.
New head coach of the Gophers, Niko Medved. Thanks, Coach. Welcome back to the Big Ten. Great to have you back and coaching alma mater. And here's the path ahead for the Gophers. You see a couple interesting non-conference matchups against power conference teams, one from the SEC, one from the ACC in Missouri and Stanford. And then you see some of those early conference games, including a trip to Purdue. Welcome to the league. You get to go to West Lafayette.
I'm glad I got that one circled. Yeah.
Let's go over to Andy now with a couple of the Gopher stars.
All right, thank you, Dave. Andy Katz here with Rafael Davis and Isaac Asuma and Jalen Crocker-Johnson. For both of you, for Isaac, first off, you are one of 2 players that decided to return, so you take that one. And for Jalen, I followed you guys in the tournament, covered you guys in the tournament. Your assistant, Ali Farokhmanesh, got the job, so you could have stayed at Colorado State, but you followed the head coach. So why did you stay at Minnesota? Why did you go to Minnesota?
I stayed at Minnesota because I just, after one conversation with Coach Medved, just saw the vision he had for the program, and I wanted to be a part of that. And I think that he has a special future in sight, and I just wanted to be with that.
For me, honestly, when I was with Coach Medved at CSU, I mean, we built a strong relationship throughout the year, you know, just on and off the court, just building that bond. And I already knew right then and there, as soon as he left, I wanted to go with him.
Isaac, you had your ups and downs as a freshman. Being a Minnesota kid, playing in Minnesota, what does it mean for you to be a part of the university, to be a part of the program, and have the opportunity this season to turn things around and get the Gopher basketball back going?
Yeah, it's definitely a special opportunity to play for your home state, and I just love wearing the Minnesota across my chest. I take a lot of pride in that, and just for the opportunity to turn it around this year. So I think that's the goal that everybody on this team has for all of us, and we just want to go out there and win games.
And Jalen, I know you coming with Coach, but you guys got 11 new players. Isaac's new as well, even though he's a returner. Who stood out to you guys in this offseason, early practices? Who's been dominating? Who's been scoring buckets? Who's been getting to it?
It's really been a team thing for sure, because just, trying to meet coach's standards and everything. But, like, people that sticked out is Langston Reynolds, Cade Tyson, Chauncey Willis Jr., just those guys just, like, leading the break, being more of the older guys on the team, trying to set by a good example by leading on and off the court as well.
So last season at Minnesota, you could count on Dawson Garcia late. Colorado State, Nick Clifford obviously could make those big buckets. Here early, and you can say yourself, game on the line, who's taking that shot? You first, then Isaac.
I can see it in your eye.
It's all right.
I'd say it's either going to be Chauncey Willis Jr., Langston Reynolds, myself, or Isaac.
I would say I'll go myself, Croc. I'll go same answer. I'll say that.
I knew you would
Different
call
order.
yourself.
Different order?
No, you have a different order.
Okay.
You got yourself first. That's okay.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right.
I guess so.
It don't even go.
Embrace it.
It don't got to go past
Confidence,
yourself.
confidence.
Yeah, we want to see that.
Isaac, being one of the only returners that actually played big minutes last season, if you were talking to a fan who was getting excited about this year, what would you tell them about this team that differs from last season?
I would say that this team just has a lot of fight, a lot of grit. Like, we've seen it already this summer in the preseason. Every day we just go out there and compete and just work to get better, and we're going to do our best for the state of Minnesota.
When the barn is rocking, I think it's one of the best arenas, not just in the Big Ten, in the country. It's unique with the raised floor. That game last year when you guys beat Michigan at the buzzer, I mean, it can be a great atmosphere. What have you told some of the newcomers about, playing on a raised, it's like right here. We could slide off this platform, and when the place is packed.
Yeah, it definitely gets jumping. Like, they were like, okay, does it get packed in here? I'm like, yeah, some games we just got to win and they'll come. It's like Field of Dreams. If you build it, they'll come. Like, we got to win games and they're going to be there. And I think we're going to be able to do that this year.
You ready to slide off the floor for a ball?
Hey, if it was going to win us a game, yeah.
All right.
For sure.
It's kind of like here. So if we got a ball, we may just throw it over there and see if you go get it.
I'll go get it.
All right. Isaac and Jalen, we appreciate it. The Gophers.
Off a Sweet 16 from a season ago, but an overhauled roster, as you'd expect, with a coaching change. 15 newcomers in all, some familiar names for Big Ten fans, including Miles Rice from Indiana, Pharrell Payne, who, of course, started his career in Minnesota before going to Texas A&M with Buzz Williams, who brought 4 players in all from College Station. Buzz Williams is with us now. And Coach, you were at a great place, having tremendous success. What made Maryland the right move for you?
Yeah, excited for the opportunity. We enjoyed our time at A&M. The community, the family, the administration. Living through COVID was hard on everybody. We weren't very good that particular year, but fondly remember the 96 wins over the last 4 years. It was a lot of fun, not only as a coach, but also for our family.
You said when you were hired that part of your summer would be spent trying to learn the Big Ten, trying to figure out what you'd gotten yourself into.
Yep.
So the summer's over. What did you learn?
Elite coaches, distinct style of play per coach almost. It's been interesting spending time learning from each of those coaches. Not really paying attention, Dave, to their roster because it's ever-changing, but just as Coach would do, just having a feel for how they play, how they coach. It was fun watching and learning from all of the coaches in this league.
You've been in the Big East, you've been in the ACC, the SEC, obviously the involvement of the SEC, the success.
Yes, sir.
What difference do you expect from the Big Ten? And you've played teams, I know you.
That's right.
How is it different as you approach this?
It seems as though, based on, this is stereotypical, it seems as though the level of coaching, the level of talent, probably similar. I think the styles of play probably play more towards skill, maybe not quite as many athletes above the rim. It's hard to know, you know this better than I do from your time as a coach. I don't think that it means that it's not athletic or that it's not physical, but the approach to the skill and how you defend that skill seems to be a little different. Obviously, I haven't coached a game, but it seems like the genre is a little bit more skilled than physical and above the rim in the paint.
There's no doubt. I
Is that right?
Oh, I was in the Big Ten for a long time at Purdue as assistant. And some of it then was the recruiting. There were just certain kids, guys you're getting, they're well coached, skilled. That's the guys you kind of recruited in your area. Right. Then I went to Kansas State in the Big 12, and it was different. It was more athletic. It was different. So there's no doubt about that. I think that's a good way of describing it. You got guys that come with you. That's a credit to you.
Thank you.
To have guys that want to play for you. How does it help you as you make this transition?
Yeah, sometimes we had 2 kids that redshirted that were freshmen last year that didn't play, so they still haven't played. And then we had 2 guys going into their last year of eligibility. Those were the 4 guys that we recruited at Texas A&M that followed us here. Every staff member came except Coach Lair retired.
Oh,
you remember Coach?
Yes, I do.
I used to work for Coach, and we were together for decade plus. And then one of our assistants was hired in the Mountain West at Colorado State in a promotion. Everybody else came. One thing that I've learned that I didn't take into account is as we're teaching 11 new players things that they've never seen, we seem to have 4 more assistant coaches than I was expecting, and not necessarily what they're saying is right. It happened this morning at practice. One of the redshirt freshmen, in the appropriate way, was trying to help his teammate. And I was like, hey, man, you got to give him the right information.
If you're going to help him.
You gave him half right information. And one thing that I've tried to be ultra sensitive to and aware of is Solo and Gochi have played a lot of minutes, but George and Dre haven't played any. So they're just like the other 11 guys who have yet to play for us. And so from a precedent standpoint, I'm trying to be sensitive to we have to make sure that what we're doing and how we're doing it and why we're doing it, that we're all kind of moving in the same direction.
You have to be a little more patient. And
I have failed in that.
that.
I have failed in that category. Whether I know them or met them in June, I haven't been as patient as I should be. My wife happened to be at practice today because I forgot a few things that I needed to bring here. And she goes, you might want to calm down a little bit. And I said, were you watching the same thing I was watching? She goes, yeah, you can calm down. And I go, well, I apologize.
I know there's some things that are non-negotiables with you. Offensive rebounding, I think, is one of the staples of your teams. But you had also said when you were hired, hey, I'm not married to one style. I want to kind of see what we've got, and then we'll figure out how we're going to play based on the personnel.
Yeah.
Again, you've evaluated the personnel. How are you going to play?
Yeah, I do have a better field day for our personnel, and I'm trying to adapt to their skill set on what I think gives us our best chance. I think there is some threads of commonality in how we play. I do want to shoot more balls than the other team. That's kind of an evolution of our time at A&M from an offensive rebounding standpoint, even a defensive rebounding standpoint. I don't know that we completely know how we're going to play offensively, but from a defensive standpoint, we're trying to have a little bit more synergy as we go with each passing day to get on the same page.
You got a lot of new guys, some you know, some you didn't know.
Yep.
Any surprises?
I really like Elijah Saunders. I love who he is as a human, tough-minded, tough competitor, high IQ as a person, high IQ as a player. But his skill set, I think, to Dave's question, we've got to continue to find ways to have him involved using his versatility, not just defensively but offensively as well.
Buzz Williams, new head coach of the Terps. Coach, pleasure to visit with you. Welcome to the Big Ten.
Good to see you, Coach.
Great to have you on board as we take a look at the schedule ahead for Buzz. You see some, there's a familiar name there on November 15th, the game against Marquette. You got the Hoyas coming up early on in the year. Good regional game there in the nation's capital. Virginia, speaking of good regional game, there's only the notable ones.
Yeah, notable according to who? We play a game before Georgetown. We need to win the game before Georgetown.
We've got a whole staff that's in charge simply of identifying notable games.
We need to have a better agreement with that staff.
It's Andy Katz. I think Katz came up with this, so let's toss it over to him.
Katz needs a new NIL agent. That's the wrong information.
Oh.
Wow. All right. The bus just ran over me. Well, first of all, I love that Maryland and Georgetown are playing again. Love that. How about Buzz Williams going against his former school that he coached at Marquette? Oh, and then on December 20th, what game is that one?
At Virginia.
At Virginia. Elijah Saunders played at Virginia. David Coit played at Kansas. Raphael Davis, former Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year at Purdue. Let's talk about the transition. By the way, these two guys have already practiced today, 6 a.m. Buzz, what are you doing? How was practice this morning?
Physical. I feel like every day is physical when you play for Buzz Williams, but it's been a lot of work. It's probably been the hardest I've worked since I've been in college, but the experience has been amazing.
David?
I would say the same. This is definitely the hardest I've worked. But most connected group I've been with, most connected coaching staff I've ever been with, been challenged so much mentally, more than physical as well, too. Just a lot of mental challenges and being uncomfortable, being pushed to a limit. So it's been a blessing, though. It's been great.
I mean, that's big time to hear you say this is the most connected team you played with 15 new players, although 4 came from Texas Tech. It just speaks to the camaraderie of your unit. Oh, yeah, from A&M, my bad. But you look at it, Elijah, Coach was just raving about you a second ago, talking about how much you could bring to this team, how unique your skill set is. What do you think you can bring to the Big Ten transferring in from Virginia? What should fans expect to see from you?
I would just say experience. 2 years at San Diego State, went to Final Four, went to Sweet 16. Virginia was kind of a unique experience with Coach Bennett retiring. But just using those experiences and expanding my game, stretching the floor, and now trying to be more of a leader. I'm more of a lead by example person, but also trying to lead vocally.
And David, similar question for you. At NIU, you're 20 points a game. Kansas may not have went the way you wanted to do scoring the ball-wise, but you chose to come play for Coach Buzz. Yeah. Why did you choose to play for Coach, and what type of game should we expect from you this year?
Yeah, I chose to play for him just because I know the culture that he built and every team that he's had, a lot of guys who play hard, and then he plays through his guards, allowing them to have the freedom to be creative with the ball, but also building them as men. And I knew that was going to be a main thing I wanted to do, obviously, coming to my last year, really touching the real world. I obviously wanted to be a pro, but wanted to be a better man. So I would say people could expect me to be creative with the ball, score, play make, but also be a great leader, great person.
You know, you brought up San Diego State, and I'm thinking about playing for Brian Dutcher. Defense first, covered you guys when you were in the Final Four. Now you go to another coach who's very much about defense as well. How would you compare these two experiences thus far, playing for Dutch at San Diego State and now Buzz at Maryland?
Yeah, I would say they're very similar. Defensively, switching multiple positions, vocal, the attention to detail. That was something that I was looking for this time around in the portal. I would say the thing about Buzz is just how he is as a person. You know, he cares about you more than basketball. He tries to build you as a man, not just as a player. And just the impact he's had on me in just the past couple months I've been here has just been a blessing.
And we mentioned it earlier, 15 new players on the Maryland roster this season. Outside of you two, who stood out in the offseason in practices, open gyms? Who's going to turn some heads this year that no one's talking about yet?
I would say, I think Isaiah Watts, Miles Rice, those are two transfers who played at Washington State together. Obviously, they had some chemistry, but just great guards. I think everybody, for real. Darius Adams, the freshman, very skilled, can score the ball very well. And I think we just got guys that could do a little bit of everything. You know, George, very hard-working guy. We got a lot of high-character dudes in the gym. So I would say, but from the most part, it's been somebody different every day. Just that's what Buzz just brings out of you, though.
That's how it's supposed to be.
I'll tell you what's crazy is when this coaching change happened, it was late. Kevin Willard going to Villanova, Buzz Williams coming over, and to put together a roster this quickly, this high level for a team that really could challenge for an NCAA tournament berth, quite impressive of Maryland, and we'll be charting the Terps throughout the course of the season.
Steve Pikiell and the Rutgers Scarlet Knights getting set for the 2025 season, a team that scored more than they have at any point in his now 10 years on the banks last season. But again, everyone knows, got two of the top players in the NBA draft, and Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper, who have both moved on. So it's going to be a little bit of a new look team for Steve Pikiell on the banks, and he joins us now. Coach, it was a little bit of a weird year, I think, last year, right? There was a lot of excitement around your team. You had some injury issues. It just felt like it never quite got to where people hoped that it might get. What did you learn about yourself last year, about your program, that maybe you can apply here going forward?
You know what? I mean, we're doing our work right now and no one's watching, so this has been a good part of our off season. But I had a tremendous amount of fun coaching those guys. We were just young at the wrong time in college basketball, and quite honestly, it's a league with a lot of great players, so you got to have multiple great players. And we never quite put it together with injuries and all the different things that happen in this kind of league. But learned a lot of sellouts, a lot of excitement. They helped us recruit a great class. I think we got a good fourth-ranked recruiting class in the league coming in. We've gotten back to blue-collar, some roots. Like we defend right now. We're physical as can be. I'm telling you, I'm year 10. I couldn't be more excited about this group of guys. And we've done it with no cameras in the gym and none of that stuff. It's been back to work in their competitive group, and I'm excited about it.
You kind of hinted at it there, and I'm really interested because I've seen you say this in the media this offseason about, hey, we're going to get back to our identity. And the identity for most of your time there has been defense, has been blue collar. How do you reinstill that? What's the process of getting from where you were last year? And I know you still want to score, and 77 points a game would be great, but how do you get back to being, hey, this is who we're going to be?
Well, I tell you, last year we had guys that could score 20 points, 30 points, and they're going to do great things in the NBA. We didn't rebound last 2 years. It's been a real issue for us. This group is huge physically. We got 7-footers, we got big guys, we got older guys. We got 2 international players that are older and that have played professionally overseas that I'm excited about. We have improvements from our returning guys. We have 4 returning players. But, I mean, there's a lot of excitement. New athletic director, great new president. They're both from LSU. Kelly's been a breath of fresh air. In this new era that you got to be competitive too. I'm thankful, for RevShare. That helped us get a real competitive group here that I'm excited about. And let's get back to, rebounding and defense, and I think this group can do that.
I will tell you, after last year, and I texted you a couple times, you stayed positive. I could always tell in the post games you'd put your glasses on just to calm down a little bit, and you'd act like maybe you were reading the stats, and then you would calm down. But I got to give you credit for that because it's hard. I know losing is hard. It's tough, and some of the games you went through, but you are a good coach. I know you are. And you just talked about rebounding, your background. Coach Calhoun, one of the best rebounding coaches of all time. How important is that? People don't realize little things like that make such a difference.
Huge. And in a league like this, we finished 11th last year, a game out of 9th place or 8th place. Those are at-large teams, So we were close. Our expectations were crazy. People thought number 1 when you get those kind of players. We were picked 9th. You need to be in that hunt. I want to get back to the NCAA tournament. The last 2 years haven't been great years because we haven't rebounded. And it's been a theme of ours. We do have tremendous size this year. But I like my group. And I like when people doubt. It's been that way for 10 years. And I'm good in those places. Yeah. And I'm excited about being, with this group and with a new AD and a new president. And Rutgers is at a great time in our school history with a lot of great things going on. And we got to get back to the NCAA tournament. And I'm driven to do that this year with a group that right now looks like we got the tools to be able to do that.
What's the challenge with so many freshmen? because that's hard, especially in this day and age.
I like our international freshmen. They're a lot older, and they've played a lot of minutes in a lot of places. But we got a talented group of freshmen. We got some kids that are very athletic. I have 2 elite defenders. I think I have 2 of the best defenders in the league. So we get back to having a Caleb McConnell type guy that can guard multiple positions, and we have 2 of them. So I'm excited about them. We have a shot blocker in By Fall, who is a McDonald's All-American. He blocks shots as well as anybody we've had. We got Emmanuel Ogbol, who's 7 foot, and he's never been healthy for the whole season. He's healthy right now. He is huge and physical, and and Dylan Grant's back, who had a really good freshman year and's got a lot of tools. Jermichael Davis is one of our toughest players that we've had. We brought in a leading scorer from the America East, and Reek Francis, who can really shoot the basketball. So this group's been very competitive, and they've been fun to coach. And I'm looking forward to, us getting back to what we've always done a great job of, and that's defending and rebounding.
You mentioned a lot of names there. Who's your leader? Like, it was pretty clear last year who your leaders were. Who's your leader on this team?
Jay Mike now. First of all, I'm just thankful. 3 years he's been with the program now. Hopefully we have him for 4 years, which will be one of the rare things in college basketball moving forward. But, our freshmen and our returning players, Emmanuel Ogbol, Bryce Dortch is back, who gave us great minutes last year. Dylan Grant is a terrific athlete and really can shoot the basketball and has improved. He played starter minutes last year. And then we got our 2 international guys that come in with tremendous amount of experience. But we're really competitive from 1 to 13, 1 to 14. We have some guys. So I'm excited. We've done it with the doors closed, with not a lot of fanfare, but this group is exciting to me, and I think Rutgers fans are going to really like, this version of Rutgers basketball.
Is there one guy that maybe is a surprise that hasn't got quite the exposure or publicity? There's always, we always talk about Tanjay. Obviously, for Wisconsin, that was off the charts, but I'm looking at the stats from him. Is there somebody that's going to surprise people out there?
I think our whole roster is going to surprise people, because you never heard of Dennis Badalou, who's from Romania. Last time you heard Romania was Nadia Comaneci, and he's a really good player, and I think people are going to be excited about him. Darren Buchanan Jr. was the leading scorer at GW a couple years ago, can guard anybody. He's built like Lawrence Taylor and can do some things. And, our freshman class is very athletic. It's a very athletic class with some great length. And, so we have a lot of guys that can do a lot of different things. The chemistry got to be right. And my staff and I, we got to do a great job of, because we got shooters, we got some shot blockers, which we haven't had. We're big physically at every position, and I like that. And we may foul out every game, but this group is
like
willing
Lawrence
to hit
Taylor.
people.
He'll get some tackles.
That's how I like it.
We got linebackers, we got gymnasts.
Right.
I mean, we've had a lot
That's
of
right.
high-level athletes referenced in this brief conversation.
Isn't that good?
Yeah, very good. Steve Pike, always a pleasure. Great to see you, Coach.
Thanks so much.
All right, have a great year. Here is the challenge ahead for Steve Peichel and the Scarlet Knights. You see some interesting non-conference games. Speaking of good freshman classes, Notre Dame's got a really good one, so that should be an interesting game there over the Thanksgiving time, November 24th and 25th, back-to-back against Tennessee. And the Fighting Irish got the always anticipated in-state rivalry with Seton Hall taking on Penn as well this year. And then you see the conference schedule, including a couple of games with Michigan State, Andy.
Well, I will raise you Nadia Comaneci with Simona Halep for Romanian references of elite athletes. But now we got another one on Rutgers. Jermichael Davis and Dylan Grant back with Rutgers. You couldn't hear your head coach, but Steve Peichel is referencing your leadership, your returning potential contributions. We know we have a new roster of not a lot of headline names. We're waiting for those to occur. Take us inside that practice court. What have you seen to give optimism to those Scarlet Knight fans that this team is going to return to the Rutgers of old?
No, definitely. It's been great. The guys have been great. I think for the most part, everybody's coming in and wanting to get better. I think that's a good part to have, good trait to have. We all coming in, competing at a high level, and just trying to make sure we stack days and get better every day. So our summer has been kind of, putting in work and just trying to get to know each other and get connected as fast as we can.
I'd say we got a lot of workers, a lot of energy guys. Practice is always a dogfight. So, we got a lot of pieces this year that come together, hoping for a great season.
Coach said just a couple minutes ago, you guys are back to your blue-collar ways. What does that mean to y'all? What do you guys talk about in the locker room? Because Coach could say anything he wants. Coach could be on the podium. He could coaches speak. But at the end of the day, the players got to go out there and they got to play. What have you guys been talking to each other about in the locker room? And what has been that message? And what does blue-collar basketball look like to you guys?
Definitely just trusting the work and not being afraid of the work. I think staying here showed that we're not, selfish, and we're willing to stay in tune and to get better as a group and try to do it together as much as we can. Which is blue collar, just trying to stay, level-headed. We know what the work that we got to do, and we're not shy from it. We're willing to take that step and put in some work if need.
We work every day to be everyday guys. We got a bunch of dogs on our team, and we're just out there just working hard in practice. Every day is just a dog fight.
Last year, scoring was not a problem with Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper. 2 years ago, there were a lot of droughts offensively. Now let's assume you're back to being a defensive rebounding team. Where is the scoring going to come from?
Scoring definitely going to come. I think we got a lot of guys who can do a lot of things. I think our floor and our offense, I feel like everybody's going to be able to get touches. Everybody will be able to get shots. We're going to be able to make shots and stuff like that. And like I said, we just got a lot of guys who can do a lot of things. So just trying to play together as much as we can, just share the moment with each other, compete together.
We got a lot of versatility on our team. A lot of times our defense leads to our offense. We got a lot of athleticism as well. So, that's going to help us a lot this season.
And Dylan, speaking about the athleticism, speaking about the versatility of you guys as squad, you came on in conference season last year. It felt like you couldn't get off the bench in a non-conference. But once January hit, it was a whole different Dylan Grant out there. What led into that change? What clicked for you halfway through the season? You finished conference play with 3 or 4 games above 15 points. What worked out for you the end of the year?
I'm going to say just going to practice every day and just, working hard, whatever you put in the practice and, off the actual court, that'll lead into the in games. So that's all I did, just working hard every day and just waited for my number to be called. And eventually it was called, and I just went out there and put my best foot forward.
Michael, Jersey Mike's Arena, affectionately known as the Rack, when that place is popping, it's arguably one of the best home courts in the country, not just in the Big Ten.
100%.
What will it take to get that home court advantage back?
To get that home court advantage back, I honestly think we got to win as much as we can at that stage as much as we can. I feel like the fans, they're always going to show up and show out, and just like building off that energy that they give us, trying to get wins as much as we can.
Is the bus fixed? The bus that I was driving?
Nah, I want to ask you.
Okay, go ahead.
I want to ask you.
All right.
Are you still on the Rutgers bus?
Well, I was booted off the bus at times last season. I was driving it, lost my license driving the bus. It went into a ditch. Then it came out. Listen, if you'll have me back on the bus, I'll drive it again.
Nah, don't let him drive the bus. He got off the bus. And then when it went in that ditch, I started driving that bus, and now I'm the driver of the bus. We don't need passengers. When anybody start an answer and they say, well, that means they don't want to be on that bus anymore. I'm on the bus with y'all.
All right, that's all I like to hear. I like to hear.
You're not going to let me on the bus, Dylan?
No, you're always welcome. Always welcome.
Oh, all right. Come on, Dylan. Open those doors. I'm coming on the bus. We're driving it again. Up.
The Nebraska Cornhuskers won the first ever college basketball crown last season out in Las Vegas as they eclipsed the 20-win mark for the second year in a row. Do lose a couple of their top scorers. In fact, the top two, and Bryce Williams, one of the leading scorers in the league, along with Juwan Gary. But they get Rink Mast back, which was a huge loss last year. Remember, he missed the season due to injury, did really well in the portal, including bringing in Bryce Sanford from Iowa. And we're joined now by the head coach of the Cornhuskers, Fred Hoiberg. Coach, it was an unusual year, I think you could say, last year, but man, it ended on a positive note. I mean, to go out to Vegas and to win that tournament, to be the first ever winners of the crown. I know it wasn't the tournament you wanted to be in. I get all that. But how can you use that, or can you use that to build?
Yeah, for sure, Dave. First of all, great seeing you guys.
Likewise.
It was a season of runs. We had a great winning streak, 6 in a row, where Burke Buchnagel was probably the best player on the floor against Ohio State. He gets hurt about 30 seconds to go and unfortunately never regained form. I never thought he got healthy fully after that. Went through a tough losing streak to end the season. But to win that championship at the end, to see the joy and the smile on our guys' faces and cut down the nets and win that championship did give us positive momentum heading into the offseason. And, you hit it on the head, Dave, when you talk about we're going to miss Bryce and Juwan a lot. Those guys were great, and some of the other players that we lose from last year's team. But to get Rink Mast back on the floor, to see everything that he can do for our group, his ability to stretch it. He led us in assists 2 years ago. He led us in rebounding. He was second in scoring. And just, when you look at the spacing and the gravity that he provides and pulling the big away from the basket, that just opens up things for everybody. We didn't shoot the ball nearly as well a year ago. We led the league 2 seasons ago. Last year, I think we were 13th in three-point shooting. So we addressed that in a big way in the offseason, by bringing, first of all, retention, getting Connor back. Sam, which was a tough sell to his mother to get him back. But
she just wanted to see him get better coaching.
Yeah, exactly. But to get some of the other players we brought in. So, I've really been impressed with our guys. They've been working their tails off. And, we're going to see what we got with a very tough first game. We play BYU, top 5 team in the nation, coming up a week from Saturday. It'd be a great test for our guys. So we're going to learn a lot about ourselves.
You mentioned the shooting, and you had talked about that at the end of last year. Hey, that's something we got to address. Tell me a little bit about some of the guys you brought in that you think can help you there.
Yeah, and another one that was with us last year that we redshirted was Braden Frager, a player from Lincoln. Came in as a 17-year-old, made the decision to redshirt him, and we had a tough decision. We were actually going through a losing stretch. We thought about stripping that red shirt, but he had a great year of development. Really athletic, and a guy that can flat out stroke it. And then Connor, as I talked about, a Season, I think one of the best shooters in the league. Price Sanford was a 40% three-point shooter a year ago. Jamarcus Lawrence, we get back, who's coming back, great addition. Knows the culture, know everything that we're all about. 39% three-point shooter. Kendall Blue was a 41% three-point shooter at St. Thomas last year. So we've had lineups where we can put 5 guys that are legitimate threats out there from the perimeter. It makes you so much harder to guard when you have that.
What do you think? You lost one guy that could get some buckets. You lost another guy it was a rebounding machine. Which one is tougher to replace as you go into this?
Yeah, I'm not sure I can say one. Both of them we're going to miss a lot. Bryce was one of those guys. You could put the ball in his hands, and he could just flat out and go get you a basket. This year's team, it's going to be a lot more movement. It's going to look a lot more like it did 2 years ago. Keisei Tominaga, who played with Rink, one of the things people, I think, forget about with him is he was a great shooter, one of the best in the country, but he was also an elite cutter, and he was second in the league in 2-point field goal percentage, and that's because the lane was open, and he could cut, and Rink could find him. So, it's going to be more of that type of group. And then Juwan just did everything for us. We'll really miss him. He was the MVP of that Crown tournament at the end of the season. So it's going to be by committee. You can't just replace those guys with one player.
Juwan was just a dog. He
was.
Just played so hard and was such a good leader for you guys. What about your defense? That's been pretty good the last few years and giving you a chance. And can you get those guys to play at that level again?
That's the question with this team. And I've got an unbelievable defensive coach in Nate Lenzer. He does a great job of getting our guys ready, putting in a system that is a full team defensive system. The one thing about it, if you have one guy out of position, you're in trouble. And our guys have been growing. Again, we're going to have a great test, and we're going to learn a lot. As you remember, Bruce, as a coach, you learn so much about your team the first time you play somebody other than yourselves, and then you can go back and teach and correct and get better and grow. But this team defensively, I'll start with Rink. When you have a defensive big that understands pick and roll defense and what you want to take away, trying to get the pocket taken away. You got Jamarcus back, who's a very good on-ball individual defender. Sam, is one of the better defenders in the league. So you've got a lot of guys, that have been in the system. You get guys back, and we're still growing, still learning. But again, I like where we are.
What does it say about your program that Jamarcus transfers out and then transfers back? I mean, it's such a weird time we live in, but tell me a little bit about that and kind of what it says about the relationships that he had with you and vice versa.
Yeah, it's the understatement of the day.
It's a weird time.
It's a weird time. But yes, to get Jamarcus back was huge for us. He was such a big contributor to what we did that year that we went into the tournament. And, when you look back at Jamarcus's journey, he was kind of a spot rotation guy that first year. Sam was out of the rotation. Then you lose Jawan, you lose Bandamel, and all of a sudden they're thrust into big roles, and that's really where they established themselves. And then he had a great sophomore year, and then losing him was a big loss for us. But in talking to him when he went into the portal, I think he missed a lot of things about the way that we did things. And to get him back, in a lead guard role, he can play off the ball. He knows our defense. And it's just he's grown. He played for Archie. I love Archie. He does a lot of great things, and you can see he's a better leader than when he was here before. And that's the evolution over the course of your career, and now going into a senior season. But it's been great to have Jamarcus back.
You leave home and you find out it's not always better at another place, right? But I talked in the studio. We talked, why did he leave? It didn't make sense. I talked to you about it. It was crazy, but it's good you have him back, and it helps to have veterans that have been in your system. That helps you with the leadership, all that stuff.
And at the end of the day, that's all that matters is, we got him back.
Yes.
And, it's, again, he's been his consistency is what I've really admired about him since we've had him back. And, he brings it every day, and we're going to need that. Your lead guard, you have to have that communication extension, obviously, of me out there on the floor. And, getting Jamarcus back, another guy, Kayle Jacobson, who was as important as anybody in our crown run, getting Kayle back as a guy that can initiate offense for us. Kendall Blue, Sam, all those guys can initiate, but maybe as important as anything is having a front court guy like Rink that can get us into our offense, especially when we're seeing pressure. That just takes a lot of heat off of everybody.
Excited to watch this team. Fred, always great to see you.
Yep, thank you, guys.
Fred Hoiberg, head coach of the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Take a look at the schedule ahead for Nebraska. As Coach was mentioning, there's an exhibition game against BYU that doesn't show up here, but again, challenging non-conference. Oklahoma, New Mexico team that's going through some transition, but certainly a good team a year ago. Obviously, the matchup with Creighton is one that always creates incredible enthusiasm in the state of Nebraska. You see some of the other marquee games, including a December visit to Illinois, a game where things should be buzzing in Champaign. Some of the marquee home games, including a return visit from the Fighting Illini along with Michigan State and Purdue, Andy.
Well, and Nebraska's expecting maybe 15,000 fans for that exhibition game against BYU. And one player that may have to guard A.J. Debinsa, who could be the #1 draft pick in June, is Rick Mast, who is now healthy. Look at that.
Finally.
Big smile. Took a while. Sam Hoiberg, without a headband, didn't recognize him.
Not surprising.
Yes. You surprised?
Happens a lot.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
He goes incognito on campus without the headband. Rink, how you feeling?
Really good. Yeah. If you spend so much time doing rehab, you need to feel good. But, yeah, knee is doing a lot better, and really excited for this season.
You've seen him play now. What do you think?
He's better than ever, honestly. I mean, I don't remember him shooting this well before he got hurt, and I don't think that's normal where you take 12 months off of shooting a basketball and you come back shooting it better. But Rick's a professional, and he's going to help us a lot this year.
And just following up on that, what does having Rink back on your squad, on the floor with you guys, because you go back a couple seasons ago, Coach Hoiberg loves to play through that .5 position. So what does having Rink back on the floor for you mean to the squad?
Yeah, I mean, it opens up a completely, new bag of plays for one, but, just the spacing he brings, being able to shoot the ball and his passing ability, we can cut off of him, and it'll pull the 5 out of the paint. Last year, the 5s would be sitting in there because our 5s didn't shoot it as well. But, yeah, he just brings so much to the table. And then even defensively, he's an amazing talker. He's always in the right spot, and I think people don't realize how much help he is on that end as well.
And, Rink, your first year in the Big Ten, you had a great season. Last season, you had to sit out with the injury. But how much did you learn from watching the entire year, having an entire year in the film room with the coaches and whatnot to help you propel you going into this season?
Yeah, I learned a lot, especially how big just having a voice is. Felt like I've always led through example, but definitely been working a lot on my voice as a leader and trying to help those new guys. Now with this new transfer portal era, we get new guys every single year, and just bringing them in and having a voice, trying to teach them and get them caught up to speed quickly. That's been big, and I definitely worked on that last year.
All right, so Sam's wearing these golf socks right now, kind of looking like he's a club pro, but he's a baller, okay? Put that headband on. There's a ball loose. You're going to dive for it. You're going to hit a big shot, come up with a big steal, which you've done multiple times. What is it about this sort of dual personality you have off the court, nice and clean? You look like you could go out on, hit 18. You get on that court, different guy.
Yeah, well, I will say I do love golf. I almost was a college golfer.
Okay.
And it's just a fun thing I do outside of basketball now. I'm a lot more chill off the court, I'll say, but yeah, when we get between those lines, there's just a fire within me that I'm going to get every loose ball. I'm going to make those plays that fires up the crowd. My favorite thing is just the appreciation I get from the Husker fans for playing that way. Coach's son that averages 4 points a game, people might be like, why is he out there? But our fans understand why, and I just want to help us win games.
I understand why, too. You're a dog, man.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
For both of you guys, I finished last place in this league, and it's something I reminded my teammates of every single day throughout the offseason. How much did you guys talk about missing the Big Ten tournament this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, it stung, and our whole thing this year is just we want to be that team that gets that monkey off our back and get that tournament win, and we're taking it day by day, but it really stung to finish with 5 straight losses last year. We were really, really up and down, and our goal is to battle through adversity much better than last year so we can kind of stay more steady the whole season.
And here's what's not going to happen this season. No team is going to miss the Big Ten men's basketball tournament because all 18 are going. It will start on Tuesday. Now, the women, they're still keeping with 15. The men, all 18. So what happened last season to these guys will not happen this season. When we come back,
the USC Trojans getting set for year 2 in the Big Ten and year 2 under Eric Musselman. They were in the postseason playing in the college basketball crown a year ago, turning over the roster significantly. 10 transfers, 3 freshmen, an outstanding transfer portal class for Eric Musselman as he prepares for year 2 in the Big Ten. And the Trojans coach joins us now. And Coach, I've asked all of the West Coast coaches this, so I'm going to continue the trend. What did you learn? Year 1 for you was year 1 with your program and year 1 in the Big Ten, but what did you learn about the league that perhaps influences the way that you run your program here going forward?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is the travel for us. It's been many years, but obviously my dad coached in the Big Ten, so I knew all the way back in the 70s, great coaches, physical play, hard venues to win at. So I kind of knew all of that. Obviously, it was a long time ago. But the travel makes it unique in what time do you have shoot-arounds, what time do you leave. But the one thing we found for sure with college-age students, much different than what I had gone through in the NBA, is the game back home was really significant for us. The travel got us actually when we got home. With NBA teams, I felt like the travel was always game 1 on the road. So we have to figure out when we get back to Los Angeles, kids are going to class. Sometimes you don't get back till 5 in the morning, then they have to go to class at 8. How are we going to make that adjustment before our next home game is going to be super important, because last year we did not play very well at home against Minnesota or Ohio State, and that was coming off our East Coast trip. So we've got to get better at trying to figure out a formula or a blueprint for how to solve that problem.
How about roster construction-wise? I mean, it's interesting that you've had an overhauled roster now 2 years in a row. The first year was basically by necessity. I mean, you get there and you have to build the roster, and you told the great story about the recruiting house and all that last year. So a little bit different this year because you've been there, you have a program, you kind of know what you're selling. But how did it influence the guys that you went after?
Yeah, I thought trying to get players, and the 2 guys that we have here with us, guys that have won at the collegiate level, super important. Guys that have been well coached, prior to their time coming to USC. That's super important to us as well. Having some experience was the 3 things that we kind of looked at going into the portal. And then obviously you always want to try to find student athletes that fit the culture of your campus as well. That becomes a huge part. When you first get a job, there's the academic component on who's going to fit in and all that. So there's a lot of things that you learn in year 1 to try to help you when you build a roster for going into year 2.
You've won at a lot of places. Now the Big Ten, you dealt with it. Does your style change at all? Like the basketball, the philosophy part of it. And you guys, one thing you brought up about the time thing, one of your best games of the year was Illinois, and that was that early, it would have been early morning game for you guys, and you played unbelievable. But just how about the style? What are you going to do with this group?
I mean, we'd like to play, a similar style to what we had at Nevada and what we had at Arkansas, which multi-positional players, length, athleticism, being able to switch. We don't play any zone defense, so being able to switch things, play with a really good pace, not necessarily a reckless pace, but so we don't really want to adjust the way that we want to play, although we understand that there's a lot of physicality. There's, I think the Big Ten is the best screen-setting league in college basketball, which people don't talk about that because it affects you defensively. It affects you from a physicality standpoint. But I think the roster makeup right now is a little bit more to the blueprint that we've had in our prior 2 stops.
When you could guard multiple positions, and I went up against you at Arkansas, and we'd try to run something, and you guys were switching. We didn't know what to run, and then we took a bad shot, and it usually went bad way. So, what about your new group? You got a lot of new guys. Is there anyone that's a surprise? There's you know how guys I'm not sure, and then all of a sudden he gets there, he's better than you thought.
Great question, Coach. For sure, for us, it'd probably be Jordan Marsh. Jordan is a guy that played really well for 2 years. 1 year was learning as a freshman, didn't get a lot of minutes, transferred practices. He's got great quickness, can get into the teeth of the defense. I would say just from a surprise standpoint, but better than anybody, Coach, practice is one thing, and then during games, always what I found is throughout training camp, throughout your 8-week summer session, then you get to the games, somebody emerges that maybe you didn't know was going to emerge, and certainly we hope that's the case with us.
I wanted to ask you about Elijah Arenas. Obviously a huge blow that he got hurt. I know the original time frame was 6 to 8 months from the injury. 6 months, most optimistically, would be the middle of January. I mean, what role is he playing? Is there any chance that he might come back? And kind of how are you dealing with where he is right now?
Yeah, for sure, a devastating injury. When I got the job at USC, the first thing was, how do we get Elijah Arenas? Obviously, I had coached his father and knew his mom when way back. So it hurts, our program, because when you look at LA and how you can have an impact on our market, it's star power, and it certainly helps if it's star power and a local LA player. But for us, it's how do we keep him engaged mentally? How do we keep him motivated with his rehab? We haven't had a problem with that. He's a super motivated young man. He's actually been coaching with us. He knows all of our plays inside and out. Every time we add something, he has his own clipboard that he diagrams stuff during the course of practice, and he's constantly in my ear. Hey, Coach, if we get down 20, think about these 5 guys. Hey, Coach, don't put this guy in if we're down 15 and we need to make a scoring run. Here's who I think we should go to early in games to keep that player engaged. So, but I think from a medical standpoint, way too early. We're just worried about him attacking the rehab, and then probably mid-January, like you mentioned, is when the medical team will kind of reassess him. But any time frame between now and January, we're not even really discussing it. It's just about how do we get him to follow the rehab, which he is doing. And really, a kid like that, it's how do you hold him back, not push him, because he's so self-motivated.
You came from Arkansas. You didn't have to worry about selling tickets. And the energy in that building how do you feel about how different was it going to USC? And, you're in the middle of the Lakers, the Clippers, everything, the Rams, you got all that stuff. Can you get the interest on USC basketball?
I think for sure you can. I think that what Coach Gottlieb's done with the women's team proves it. Juju Watkins, a star from L.A., they win a lot. You got to win. You got to have a star, and it certainly helps to have a star from the Los Angeles area. But I think our women's program has proven that today, right now, you can draw at a high level, and if you win at a high level and you have a star, they're going to come.
Eric Musselman, great to see you, Coach.
Appreciate it, you guys.
The story with the USC Trojans as they head into this season. Here you see the schedule ahead for them. And again, with all the West Coast teams, remember they're playing the other West Coast teams twice, and those early games are against one another. So they go to Oregon, play Washington at home in terms of the early Big Ten games. You see the UCLA games. We were talking about this. We had Mick Cronin up here. I mean, pretty cool. You got one at the end of February, one at the beginning of March, back to back. You see the return game with Oregon Return game with Illinois, as Coach mentioned, a really big win for the Trojans a season ago, Andy.
Well, Dave, you said to Buzz Williams that I was in charge of these scheduling graphics. I would have put on the Maui Invitational. Why? Because Chad Baker-Mazara has a rare chance to win the Maui Invitational back-to-back years, help lead Auburn to the title last year in Maui, can do it now with USC, with now his partner, Rodney Rice, joining the Trojans. Let's start with you, Chad. You're going back to Maui. You're now with USC from going to the Final Four with Auburn. Why the Trojans?
Not many people know this, but growing up as a young kid in the DR, one of my first times coming to America, I came here to Los Angeles, and at the time my auntie was graduating from USC. So, you know, seeing that stuck with me when I went back home, watched them throughout the years, and I always wanted to put a USC jersey. So now Coach Mullins gave me the chance to, so why not do it?
Rodney, joined the Big Ten last year. You helped lead Maryland to the Sweet 16. Something must have clicked when you saw USC in the Big Ten. Say, you know what? If I come back to college basketball, I want to go to LA. Why?
Well, Coach Musk got a lot to do with that. Great coach. He's built a great environment there for the time he's been there. And the atmosphere in the Big Ten, man, it's nothing like it. These arenas, they're loud, they're crazy, and I just love it.
And you guys got the second best transfer portal class in the country. And obviously you two being the big reason behind that. But other guys, who has stepped up this offseason, or who is going to be a guy that's going to turn some heads this coming season that nobody's really talking about right now?
To be honest, I feel like everybody going to have to step up this year. You know, we all coming in new. You know, they say, you know, it's really us too, but nah, it's a team sport. But some guys that really stood out for me, Ezra Czar, Marion Dickinson, he been great. Jaden been shooting the ball outstandingly, phenomenal. So, but overall, I feel like it's just going to be like a collectively group thing.
And you think about what you was able to do in your previous stop, getting to a Final Four, having that winning history. How big is that into a locker room with all these new guys? You're a guy that's been to a Final Four. You've seen winning basketball. How much do you share to those guys? How much do y'all talk about winning qualities and winning ball?
Every day I try to tell them, like, I'm trying to go back there myself. Because to me, if I don't go at least somewhere close to that, it's a bad season. But, you know, every day the guys, they're really open-minded. They come ask questions, and I come and I tell them, I'm like, I'm here. I'm your big brother. I'm here to help y'all, lead y'all with my experience on and off the court. And they've been really good learning and even helping me, you know, because obviously I'm not perfect. I got obviously some stuff to work on myself. But, you know, the guys been there for me as much as I've been for them, so I'm really excited for this year.
Ronnie, you were a big shot maker last season for Maryland. What is it about those moments that you relish?
I love those moments. Being able to win a game, get ahead in the game, get the crowd going. It just impels me to do better, to make shots. And, yeah, I just love situations like that.
Rodney Rice, and you know, I just wish Chad was, you know, more of an extrovert. You know, we just don't know, you know, I don't even know who he is. CBA, oh, okay.
Come on now.
Hang on here.
You're going to love this personality in the Big Ten.
Hello now. Come on now. You give me a little
Year two for Ohio State under Jake Diebler, and here you see the rundown from last year. Man, they won some good games. They beat Kentucky, beat Purdue, among others, a season ago. Maryland as well. They bring back a lot. You talk about continuity. It's pretty rare in this day and age, but Bruce Thornton's back, John Mobley, Devin Royal, some good newcomers as well, so a lot to be excited about as they enter year two under Jake Diebler, and the Ohio State head coach joins us now. Coach, what did you learn about yourself first full year as a head coach?
Well, 11 games decided by 2 possessions or less will almost give you a doctorate, right, in how to handle close games. So I think for us, you know, retention was an indicator of where our culture was and how we were able to establish that in year one. I'm proud of that. But listen, every game is its own gauntlet in the Big Ten. So going through that, getting that experience last year is going to really serve us well as a group and me personally as we move into this season.
It's pretty interesting to look at those games you won last year. I mean, you beat elite teams. There was a consistency issue, as you know. So how do you become more consistent? How do you get it to the point where you're playing somewhere close to that level of the best wins on a more consistent basis?
Well, it started with roster management for us and how we constructed this roster. When we went into this offseason saying we wanted to raise our collective basketball IQ, a lot of that comes with experience. And so we feel like we brought in experienced guys who had proven production in college basketball before. That was important to complement all that experience that we have coming back.
What about leadership? It's so important. As you know, obviously Bruce has been around the block a few times. Is he your leader, or maybe somebody else that stepped up to the plate for you?
He is, and we've had other people step up, which I think is really important. This group is really close, and I love coaching this team. I love going to practice every single day. I wish we could practice 3 times a day with how much I enjoy being on the court with this group. And it's because of there's a level of leadership across the board in our locker room. Certainly Bruce, leads the way with that, but you've seen guys who have been in our program before, like Devin Royal and Junie Mobley, certainly stepped up in that regard. And then some of the guys we added, and Gabe Cupps and Christoph Tilley, who have experience but also have a natural leadership qualities that have really made a big difference for us.
What about the new guys? Is there any surprises? Somebody that, so many guys get all this exposure, and then all of a sudden there pops up a guy like, so in January we're starting to talk about him.
Well, I think Christoph Tilley certainly deserves, with what he's accomplished in college so far, he deserves attention going into the season. But I would remember the name, Coach Amari Bynum. Really excited about what he's been able to do as a freshman so far for us. The consistency he operates with, he's got a physicality to him, which most freshmen don't have. So I'd keep track of him and his progression this season.
Oh, it's interesting you were talking about Tilley, and I think if you kind of take an assessment of the positives and negatives from last year, backcourt play is a known commodity, and you already talked about it. I mean, Bruce is one of the best guards in the country. Mobley's as good a shooter as you're going to find. It felt like the front court, kind of both ends of the court last year, was the area where you were a little inconsistent. You already mentioned a couple of those guys, but kind of give us a sense of how you addressed it on the offensive end and how you feel on the defensive end you are on the interior as well.
Well, we had to get bigger. Last year we were rolling out a forward who was 6'6" and a forward who was 6'8". And in Big Ten basketball, it's just not big enough. So we're bigger. Shifting Devin Royal more to a wing, a more natural position and an appropriate size, fits him, fits us, helps us be a better rebounding team. That was a big problem for us last year. We did some things schematically that were proven to work. We just couldn't finish possessions well enough with a rebound. So we had to address that. We got bigger, 7 feet. We have a young man, Ivan Nagovin, who's developed in our program, who's now 7'2", 260 pounds. We brought in Brandon Knoll, who's 6'8", 245 pounds. Amari Bynum, 245 pounds, 6'8". So we're bigger across the board, and shifting Devin more to the perimeter helps makes us bigger as well.
You talked about all the close games, and that's the Big Ten. The balance in the league is unbelievable. 9 teams with 10 wins. The next couple, bottom teams beating the top teams. So all those close games, as a coach, what do you do? How do you practice that? How do you prepare your guys? Some of it's experience. They got to go through it. But, what have you done or thought about, in the off season now as you gone in the summer with the practice into the fall? What are you doing to get better at that, to give yourself a chance to win those games?
I think, to your point, Coach, I think this is going to be the best basketball conference in the country this year. The depth is, just from 1 all the way to 18, the margins are so small. What we've done is we've practiced situational basketball almost every day, putting ourselves in situations to get experience and then having the film to go back and review the next day on things we did well, things we didn't do well enough, and what we've seen already in a short amount of practice time is progress. And that's what you want to see right now. You want to see guys getting better, learning from mistakes, give them an opportunity to make some of those mistakes in real game, end of clock or end of game situations so that we can learn from it. And that's what we spent a lot of time doing this offseason.
Ohio State head coach Jake Diebler. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it. Looking forward to watching your team this year.
Thanks, guys. Go Bucks.
So that is Jake Diebler. Here's what's going on for Ohio State. You see some of the interesting non-conference games, including Notre Dame, a trip to Pitt. They'll take on North Carolina as well. Got a game with Virginia. They're in the middle of the conference season, and obviously always great rivalry games. Got Michigan twice in January and February, so in fairly close succession. And March 1st, that'll be a game that will certainly be circled on the calendar for the Nut House, as they will take on the Purdue Boilermakers in Columbus, Andy.
Well, thank you, Dave. Joining me here on the set, Bruce Thornton and Christoph Tilley, transfer from Santa Clara. Bruce Thornton, arguably, Raphael, I think you'll agree with me here, one of the top returning point guards in the country, not just in the Big Ten. You decided to come back again. You guys were right there, maybe a game away from being in the tournament last season. Who knows what would have happened? What will be the difference this season?
Great things going to happen this year. I just tell our guys each and every day, just get better each and every day at practice. Don't look too far in the future. I feel like that when your mind goes to looking at different things. Or I say don't look too far in the past either. I just tell our guys to stay in the moment each and every day, get 1% better. That's the only thing I can ask for each and every day, your effort and your attitude. I feel like we can figure out everything else, but I feel like we get those things down pack, I feel like we're going to be all right this year.
Christoph, Jake Diebler just said that rebounding was an issue a year ago. So go in the portal, get someone like yourself. How do you help solve that?
Rebound the ball. Pretty easy. I got to work on that, and I think I'm still working on that, but I will help the team for sure.
And Bruce, I call you one of the best point guards in the country. I mean, one or two, pick your poison. And when you look at your stats right now, you're 21st all time in scoring at Ohio State. You're just a junior. You're 10th all time in assists at Ohio State. You're just a junior. But you've never played in an NCAA tournament game. And I know that means something to you. So how important is that for you this season to get the Buckeyes back to the tournament?
It's definitely important to me. As a kid, growing up watching college basketball, watching March Madness, filling out your brackets, like, as you always dream of playing in. And I just know one day I'm going to get there. I know this year is going to be the year. I put a lot of time, a lot of effort, pouring into my guys, younger and older, just understanding, telling guys the standard we play at Ohio State. And I just make sure each and every day my level, my intensity have been raising a lot this year. So to make them things and make my dreams come true. So I'm very excited this year, and I'm ready for the season to get started.
You're going to pull it out of those dudes. I feel you. And Tilly the same. I mean, you think about Ohio State, you know you have Bruce, you have Devin Roy on the other block playing some wing this year. John Mobley Jr. can shoot it from 50 feet, but they miss that interior presence. And not just on the glass because you need to grab a rebound, but someone to drop the ball down low and get them a bucket. Yeah. What do you bring to this team that can make this team get back to the tournament so Bruce don't have to beat you up at the end of the season?
I think I bring a lot to this team. Like you said, I can score inside, but also from the outside, which helps everybody around me. Just like it's harder for the defense to defend. And, like Bruce said, at the end of the day, we all trying to do everything we can to make the tournament. I've never been there, and I want to go there too.
Yeah, Santa Clara has gotten close a little bit, maybe a game or two away. A year ago, I don't think anyone knew how good John Mobley would be. And then certainly non-conference, made big shots. You're there, we're not. In practice, who could be that player this year that we're not talking about that's going to bust out in November and December?
I feel like we have a lot of guys. I feel like Amari Bowden, freshman, very young, athletic wing. I feel like he brings a lot of energy, a lot of extra possessions for us to be a great offensive rebounder. And also Brandon Noah, transfer from Wright State. I feel like his physical presence that he brings, I feel like he'd be a great for us offensively because he's a mismatch. He's like 6'8", 250. There's not a lot of guys that's 6'8", 250 that's moving and then also able to make shots and make the open read. So I feel like them two guys are going to help us improve this year and be a great team this year.
Bruce Thornton, Christoph Tilley, they got to get to the NCAA tournament. You think they're going to make it?
Oh, yeah. I think that with the core, you get Bruce, Devin, you got John, you add in Tilly. You just need Tayson. You need those complementary guys like we were talking about earlier. You need them to make shots. You need them to play hard. You need them to defend, but you need them to accept their roles. You need 4 guys in the Big Ten, and then you need everybody else to be great pieces. I think you guys got that this year.
All right, you heard it. They're going to make the NCAA tournament. Hey, when we come back,
here is the season outlook for Purdue. In a word, good, really good for the Boilermakers, a team that obviously has had incredible success. Only Duke's won more games over the last 4 years They bring back their top 4 scorers, including the reigning Big Ten Player of the Year in Braden Smith, who's the preseason Player of the Year as well. Trey Kaufman-Renn, Fletcher Lawyer, just a loaded roster. For Coach Matt Painter, who joins us now. And Coach, this is a team a lot of people are picking to win not just the Big Ten title. You're the overwhelming pick to win the Big Ten, but a team a lot of people are picking to win the national title as well. This is not unfamiliar territory for you. You guys have had huge preseason expectations several times here over the last few years. How do you handle it with your team?
Well, I think the summer has been great. I think that piece of the NCAA add in the summer allows you to work through some things. For us, we didn't have everybody there, but it was still good, kind of the back and forth. And then once you start the fall of getting things in, we have a good front court, we have a deep front court, we have a good back court, we have a deep back court. So, our margin of error is a little bit different unless we lose, key pieces, because we have a lot of guys in there. I think role definition is going to be a big thing for this group, because obviously we have the main pieces right there. We got to be a better defensive team. We have to be a better rebounding team, and I think we really helped ourselves by the people that we added in the spring, and then also getting Daniel Jacobson back.
Tell me a little bit about how you deal with it internally. How do you talk about winning the national championship? Is it something, do you break every huddle with national championship? How do you, what do you do?
I think it's more along the lines of them talking about it.
Okay.
They write up on the board. They, when things happen, you're going to have adversity. When things happen is, hey, did this help us become national champs or did this hurt us today? Every little thing matters for it. But you got to collectively understand the big picture of things. That's why I brought up the piece of role definition. 2 years ago we talked about it, but we also talked a lot about coming off a horrific loss in the NCAA tournament. And so it just kind of piggybacked itself, and I think that's where I made a mistake last year, is that we didn't talk about going to back-to-back Final Fours. And then when you see where we were in December, you're like, they're a good team, but they're not a great team. And then at the end, we didn't play well enough to win our league, but we improved and got better. And that's what our league will do. Our league will really, really help you. We get to the NCAA tournament, and we're right there with Houston, because we weren't right there with Auburn in December. And that 3 months right there that we really improved and got better, but we should have talked it into existence. We should have talked about it more. So that was really something for me, a kind of a learning curve for a coach that you need to always do. Even though you might not be as strong, you can still be the 15th best team in the country and get to a Final Four now. Before, you didn't feel that way. And so for us, now, hey, this is our goal. And the one thing that's cool about it is our seniors and our 3 main guys, they've accomplished everything besides the national championship.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. So the league's going to be good. There's no doubt. Good balance. But you also, in preparation, to answer Dave's question, your non-conference schedule. Yeah. You have made it tough. And we talked about it for many years, playing different people, different styles, so
yes.
You're ready for the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, no question. We play Evansville, we play Oakland, we play Akron, we play Kent State, and a lot of people will look at things of that and say, well, you're not talking about, your high major teams. You're not talking about Memphis or Texas Tech or Marquette or Alabama or Auburn. But that's who you're going to face first if you have a good seed. That's who you're going to face first. Look what Oakland did in the tournament. Coach Campion, how great he's been. And so look what they did in the tournament 2 years ago. So, that is the challenges that you're going to have, but especially some of those neutral court challenges. We got to go back into Alabama after they came to us, but now we play Auburn neutral. We're going to play Memphis neutral. We're going to play Wake Forest or Texas Tech neutral, and that's what you want. You want those challenges.
I'm going to bring up, and I know you're proud of it, I got to come back for the reunion this summer, and it was just amazing. I hadn't come, and you had invited me.
Yeah.
Just didn't get a chance. Our guy Robbie Hummel went off and made a bunch of threes. But just talk about that and the pride and what you've created. And again, I applaud you for keeping Coach Katie involved. Right. And it's special.
Yeah. Well, I think it started, obviously. I'm fortunate because it was his blueprint, right? Not just for coaching and teaching and things like that, but for a program. And he would always talk about that. Anybody can have a good team, but can you have a good program? Do you have discipline in your program? Do you graduate your players? But then do they come back? And that's what you'll see now. And now that's just great when you see the former players come back to see Coach Katie. We had 350 people, at my house, and they came back. And there was people there, and I'm like, hey, man, why didn't you come? Why don't you come out to the house afterwards? He goes, I was there for 3 hours. I couldn't get to you. And it was just, but it's just kind of special that now, especially in today's world, with everybody moving, we do have a basketball family. And, and for Coach Katie now at 89 years old, to be able to see all those faces or whatever, we had a guy that he was friends with that come to practice the other day. I said, hey, go over there and talk to him. Like you got to tell him and get him going. And I said, because he loves talking about the old times and everything. But it's a special deal. But have 2 coaches in 45 years is pretty cool. And it's cool for our players. It's cool for our players to see former Purdue basketball players and going to different, walks of life and doing different things.
There were over 80 players back. I think the oldest one played in 57 or somewhere in there. And, I mean, you just think of that pride. And those guys love being there. And, it was really special.
I want to talk a little bit about the guys you've got on this year's roster. And, look, everyone knows about Braden and Trey. And, I mean, it's an incredible group. But I think what a lot of people are excited about is the other pieces that you've gone out and gotten. Like you take 2 of the best players, maybe the 2 best players in the league, and then you augment it with some of these young faces. I mean, Omer Meyer had an unbelievable summer and is a great international player. Oscar Clough coming in, who's been a fabulous player at a mid-major level. Let's talk about Meyer first. Like, how does he fit in with Braden?
Yeah.
Can you play him at the same time? Like, what does that look like?
You can play them both at the same time. He's really learning there. He's been a ball-dominant player, so learning to play with him also. Obviously, we have Jakari Harris and C.J. Cox there, too, competing for that. Oscar Clough gives us that rebounder. Second in the nation in rebounding. We weren't a great rebounding team. We weren't very good defensive field goal percentage for 2s, and didn't have rim protection, which Daniel will help us with. But Omer will do a great job. He's learning a lot right now, but he's played at a high level. He played for Maccabi Tel Aviv. He played in the 18 and unders. He played in the 19 and unders. So he's had a lot of success.
What would be one area that you need to get better now in this next stretch as you prepare for the season?
Containing the dribble. Keeping the ball out of the paint. I think sometimes as coaches, like, you emphasize something offensively and then you take away from it defensively. Like, we want to live in the paint offensively, just like every other team, but you want to keep the ball out of the paint. We've played in a drop a lot because of our size, and then you just can't be a no middle, no paint team and you're in a drop because you're allowing it in there. Even though they could get to their runners and floaters that you want, you're still allowing in there. So we've just tried to be more aggressive this summer and the fall in our ball screen defense, trying to get the ball out of there. But we just can't be in help all the time. Like, you just can't be orchestrating everything and you're just helping constantly. You got to be able to keep the ball in front of you and make people score over you.
One of the guys who will be difficult to score over is Daniel Jacobson. And I remember you telling me, we were talking at one point last year after he got hurt, and we were talking about the struggles you'd had on the interior and defense. You say, hey, we lost our rim protector. I mean, we were counting on him. Now you have him back. He had a nice summer internationally. I mean, he got to compete. It wasn't like he was out all summer. Quite the contrary. He's playing really high level.
Right.
For people who might have kind of forgotten that you had this 7'4" guy coming in the program, give us a sense for him.
And it's really good for us because both of those guys are going to play, and they battle each other. Oscar is more physical. Oscar's a low post guy. Daniel's longer. Daniel's more of a flip-up lob type guy. And so his ability to change shots, he does a lot better when we play in games and scrimmages than he does in practice, but Oscar's really held him accountable, and he's held Oscar accountable.
At different times, are you going to play big? Are you going to play small?
Yeah, we'll play with TK at the 4 a lot. He's done really well. We've really worked on our pocket pass with a 4 guarding him, a quicker guy guarding him, and really playing that mismatch. And I like that. I like the post up with that 4 and then dealing with that 5 weak side to be able to get rebounds. Oscar will be a guy that post up some, and that's been our difficulty. Like, Fletcher Lawyer has been very, very efficient as a player, and he's been our 3rd usage guy. And sometimes you go back and, like, we got to get him more threes. We got to get, and so getting that balance to where Braden and TK will have a lot of usage, but also Fletch, and the other big guys, and just, and having great balance. But it's awful hard to get when somebody gets hot. When somebody gets hot, you try to go to them.
You know what they call this, Matt? They call this nice problems to have.
Yes. Yeah. No doubt. No doubt.
Matt Painter, head coach of the Boilers. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
As we take a look at the schedule ahead for Purdue, Matt ran through the whole thing. I don't know if there's anything that I can say other than here it is. You see all those great non-conference games, and man, there are some fabulous ones in November and December. Some of these marquee games in the Big Ten. Obviously, the games with Indiana are always huge. Going out west to take on the Bruins, it's going to be one of the most anticipated games of the year in the Big Ten. There is lots to talk about, Andy, and that's because there is massive star power on this roster, and you are with a couple of those superstars right now.
Yeah, and actually there is a game we could add. Kentucky, exhibition. So there's no question that they are not shying away from anyone, whether it counts or doesn't. Andy Katz, Raphael Davis, Trey Kaufman-Renn, and the reigning Big Ten Player of the Year, Braden Smith. First off, Braden, you have a chance, both of you have a chance, obviously, to go to another Final Four. You have a chance to do something that's pretty remarkable, which is win back-to-back Big Ten Players of the Year, and the school could do it 4 straight years with 2 different players, Zach Edey and yourself. Take a step back and think about what that says about not just you and Zach, but this program that you play for.
Yeah, no, I think it speaks a lot about who Purdue is and the culture that we have and the players that come through Purdue. I think it's a big deal, obviously for me and for people that have won it in the past. But I mean, at the end of the day, like you said, like our main goal is to win. So that's what we're focused on, and that's what we're looking forward to.
Trey, losing to UConn 2 years ago, I mean, you guys have seen it all. But how much did that drive you guys, not just last year, but now both of you guys coming back, Fletcher coming back, to try to get back there again and take that final step?
Yeah, I think it's the combination of, figuring out, like, knowing that you can get back, you're talented enough to get back, but also watching, the confetti drop for another team when you're at that level. And as a competitor and, watching that happen was, one of the most emotional things that could happen at that moment. And so that combination of things really, keeps us motivated every day in practice.
Now, I've been a part of Purdue basketball since I was 14. I've been a part of Purdue basketball with Coach Painter, committed at 15. And he said something that I had never heard him say a couple weeks ago. He said this is his best roster, this is his best chance to win a national championship. Is that something that you guys talk about in the locker room? Does it add pressure, or is it something that you guys embrace?
I think it's definitely something that we embrace, and we believe them. The entire team, you look at our depth, you look at our talent, you look at our personality, the culture that we have. I just can't see, when I look at the landscape of college basketball, I can't see another team that has everything that we have and everything that we have going for us this year.
What's interesting is I think you guys, and throw Fletch in there as well, you've experienced it all. I mean, because you were on the doorstep of winning a title after a year of losing in the first round. So all these expectations of you could win it again, get back to the Final Four. You guys have all experienced being a top seed and not even getting out of the first round. How much have all of these experiences fueled and maybe to some degree humbled this team?
Yeah, just like you said, I mean, we've seen everything, the ups, the downs, the in-between. So I think being able to go through something like that as a team, like losing in the first round, like being able to have that experience, understand the work ethic that we had that summer after and what it took that whole next year with that bullseye on our back in a sense, and getting back to that spot that we want to get to of reaching the Final Four in the national championship game. And obviously last year was a heartbreak, how we lost in Sweet 16 because we all thought that we should have won there. And so after that, I mean, being able to see that and understand that, like, okay, like it's possible and we're capable of doing so, it's definitely what we think about every single day.
So, look, history lesson. I go back to when I played at Purdue. My sophomore year, we finished last place in the Big Ten. That next offseason, Coach Painter brings in 2 Navy SEALs, and they are crazy. But then we turned our season around. We finished top 3 in the conference. He did it again this year. I saw you guys training with the SEALs, out there carrying trees, in the sand pits. What did that activity, what did that group camaraderie, what did it mean to you guys? What did you take away from it? And how could you use what you learned in that to kick it on and get to a national championship?
Yeah, I think it was more just spending time with the guys. I think that was the biggest thing. Like, obviously, like, you guys experienced it in your time of all the stuff that you do with carrying the logs, doing hard stuff together and being able to push through and kind of figure out how to talk and communicate with each other to achieve those things. And I think that was just the biggest thing for us. Like, we stayed at Mackey for 2 nights, like, without our phones, like, without everything, sleeping bags, sleeping on the floor. So, like, for us, like, part of it sucked because, like, you're sleeping on the floor and no phones in this generation. Like, it's different. But I think that brought us closer together and understood, like, how we can communicate with each other, how to spend time together. Like, when stuff gets tough, we know how to communicate and talk through it and be like, all right, like, we can hold each other accountable and be successful in really anything that we do.
One thing, and if you could both chime in on this, and this is me from afar. I'm not there on the day-to-day, obviously, but you guys have both seen college athletics change during your career. Now there's money and all these things, and I don't sense that you guys have changed, despite all these amenities that have come your way, and rightfully so, over the last couple of years. Why is that?
I think it's I have this discussion all the time with people, back where I'm from, and they ask me all the time about the landscape of college basketball as far as the NIL and the transfer portal. And I think the biggest thing is that when you look at our culture that we have here, and you actually live it, you don't see it from the outside. When you actually live it from day to day, it's not a culture that you want to leave because you're not going to get one that's as good as it. And so, like when you compare it to a normal job, if you're in a great situation, you love going to work every day, your family's in the right spot, just because somebody else may offer you a little bit more money or, better location, nicer, whatever, it's not going to persuade you to go there versus staying at home.
Both of you guys, small town kids, grew up in small towns. I mean, my parents live in Noblesville. I know what Westfield is like. Now you're sitting here coming off being the player of the year in the Big Ten, preseason player of the year. You were the only player in the country, Trey. 20 points a game, over 6 rebounds, over 59% from the field. What does this mean to you guys to be on the #1 team in the country, to be right here as leaders, coming from those small towns, not being 5 stars, not playing on those circuits, and you still got here to the ultimate goal?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for us is just understanding how far we've come. And like you said, like being from a small town and not really understanding like what it's like to be in a Final Four or to experience like the culture that we deal with every single day. Like not a lot of people get those opportunities. And I think for us, as I look back on it, like in these past 3 years, like it's been unbelievable and I couldn't ask for anything better. And being able to finally have that last shot at it and being able to accomplish something that only a very small amount of people can do, I think it's a big deal, and I think it's something that we're obviously capable of doing, but I think at the end of the day, like, we all just enjoy being together and kind of reach that for the same goal.
Yeah, and I would add to that, just as competitors, we like relish that. We love that, we're not, Braden can speak for himself, but he wasn't a super highly ranked player. I love being overlooked at times. Like, I love it because every single time I go in a game, I can have another chip on my shoulder, another reason to beat the other team and win the game.
2 all Big Ten players. I think 2 potential All-Americans. Braden Smith, reigning Big Ten Player of the Year. Trey Kaufman-Renn, all Big Ten. They're going to compete, actually, probably for the same award. The #1 team in the country, the #1 team in the Big Ten. Wow, we've done all 18 teams, players, and coaches, but we're not